It was 8 years ago tonight when the San Francisco Giants played their first ever regular season game at AT&T Park. Last night, the Giants in Game 1 got a great start from Kevin Correa. 7 2/3, and after that, it was the bullpen that made it stick. The Giants would take Game 1, 5-1. A little luck along the way, too, as they grabbed the early lead. In getting 5 runs, the most they have put up on the board so far this season. The Cardinals and Brian Barton try to turn it around tonight. Barton is in the lineup and in left. Baseball on FSM Midwest is next.
You could not ask for a better night for baseball weather-wise here in the Bay Area. We are in San Francisco, California. AT&T Park, home to the Giants. The Cardinals 7-3, the Giants 4-6 on the young 2008 season. As always, with my partner Al Rabosky, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us on this Friday night. And when you take a look at game number 2, let's really break down the starting pitching for the Cardinals. Kyle Loge going for St. Louis, and you look at the pitching staff in our Ford Key matchup. It's one of the best aspects of this team, and collectively one of the best right now in baseball.
It's very surprising how well the Cardinal starters have been. They're 6-1. You contrast that with the Giants. They got their first win from the starter last night. They were just roughed up, but that is the strength of the Giants, is their starters. But they've had a weakness right now, and that's been Zito.
Yeah, that's hard to believe because this was their big free agent signing a year ago. Nearly $130 million they gave him. So the question is, what is going on right now with Barry Zito?
Well, he doesn't have the velocity. His breaking ball is tumbling. He's throwing more changeups. He's giving up home runs, and he's only going 5 innings per start.
And the list goes on and on and on. Will it continue tonight in game number 2? Albert is in the lineup. Coming up next, I'll sit down with the Cardinal slugger.
2-2 pitch. Albert hits it out to right center. That ball gets down. One run is going to score. Here comes Eckstein. That ball goes all the way to the wall. Duncan being waved in. Pujols delivers. 3-1 St. Louis.
In the middle of the lineup with you is Ankiel and Gloss. Just those two guys surrounding you. I mean, is that something that you look at and you say, boy, this lineup really has got some pop to it, where we didn't have that the last couple of years?
I said it before, and I went down to spring training, and I'm gonna keep saying during the course of the season. This is probably one of the things since I've been here in 2005 and in 2001 that has more power in the team. You look at Ankiel, myself, you look Duncan, Troy, Gonzalez, which you know, it was a lot of expectation on him that he was gonna make the team, but obviously because of his injury. And then you look at the bottom of the lineup with AK and Molina, you know, we got some power in the team, and we got some guys that they can get on base. And our goal, myself being in the middle of the lineup, is drive those guys in, starting from the top. Skip Schumacher, I mean, I think he's gonna be probably a leadoff guy with right-hander here, with right-hander pitching. I think he had a great spring training. He showed that he can belong in that spot. You know, Duncan, I don't know what kind of lineup we're going to have, but with Duncan, myself, Troy, Ankiel, Jari, OK, and Cesar's too, our new shortstop. I think we have a pretty good lineup. I think if we can stay healthy and our pitching can stay healthy, I think we're going to be OK. And our goal is to hopefully be in first place or close to first place when we get those two guys that are really exciting and working hard to get back on, and Chris Carpenter and Mark Morder.
Finally, your 8th season, like you said, is that hard to believe? You're now entering your 8th season in the major leagues?
Pinching myself every day. I'm like, can I believe that? It feels like it was yesterday. And then sometimes it feels that I've been here a lot, you know, a lot more than 8 years. But I'm looking forward to wearing this uniform. I've been blessed to be in an organization that every year giving me a chance and giving the city of St. Louis a chance to putting a team out there to win, and I'm looking forward for this year again.
Appreciate your time. Have a great year.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Albert Pujols off to a good start, hitting .375, a couple of home runs and 4 RBIs. He is in the lineup tonight. Baseball is around the corner. Zito and Lowe's tonight. The city by the bay. San Francisco, game number 2 coming up in just a bit. This could be quite a Hall of Fame class. Here's just some of the names that are eligible in 2013. But, partner, I guess 3 really stand out. Craig Biggio, 3,000-plus hits. How about Barry Bonds, the all-time home run leader? And Roger Clemens, 354 wins. Who gets in this class?
Well, Barry Bonds obviously gets in as the all-time home run hitter if you went just purely by the numbers. But it sounds like the McGwire factor, they will not vote for anybody that is linked to steroids. Obviously, Bonds is linked to steroids, so he doesn't get in. Roger Clemens is linked to steroids, 354 wins. That's an automatic entrance. But the same factor. If you don't bring in Bonds and you don't bring in McGwire, you can't vote in Roger Clemens. So the only guy that I see that you're going to induct is the 3,000 hit man, and that's Craig Biggio. How about the career? He started as a catcher, went to second base, went to the outfield, back to catching, but what signifies entrance is 3,000 hits. So he's the only one that goes into the Hall of Fame.
7-time All-Star Biggio, 291 career home runs. We're back with more at AT&T Park in just a moment. The weather has been beautiful since we arrived in San Francisco. Should be the case tonight. You talk about concentration. How about this from the future Hall of Famer? That's Omar Vizquel during BP, bunting it off the knob of the bat. Troy Glaus is in the lineup tonight for St. Louis. Baseball, a game to be enjoyed by father and son. The Duncans for the Cardinals. Baseball is next. And welcome back to live action here at AT&T Park here in San Francisco. A leadoff base hit by Skip Schumacher. And a hard hit ball to Brian Bocock. Let's see if they give him a base hit or an error. I believe they'll give him a base hit.
I think they will too. Bocock is supposed to be a defensive wizard, but he wanted no part of this one as it eats him up and gets by him for the base hit. How about Schumacher? You know, he started out slow, but he's picked up hits. 3 hits last night, 2 hits the night before, and a hit prior to that.
Isn't that the idea, though? When you're a regular and a guy that doesn't have to look over your shoulder, you can go through an 0 for 15 and 0 for 20 and not worry about it because you know the numbers are going to be there.
Yeah, it was just getting him to relax.
Brian Barton is in the starting lineup for the Cardinals tonight, batting second. And Barry Zito wears number 75. Across the bay now to San Francisco after all those years with the Oakland A's. And the pitch to Barton was taken for a ball inside, a little high. So some speed at the top of this lineup with Schumacher over at first, Barton in the second spot, and then Albert Pujols waiting on deck. The Rico numbers for number 75.
Well, it's had a tough start, and right-handed batters have just crushed him this year. They're batting .438 with 3 home runs and their 14 hits. Zito has never missed a major league start.
Isn't that something?
He's made 244 consecutive starts, but many people believe that he is damaged goods right now. Some people don't want to deal with the Oakland A's when you're talking about a pitcher, because you look at Hudson, struggled his first year, Mulder, now Zito.
Barton is jammed a bit, popped up, foul territory, and that will drop near the Cardinal bullpen, and Ray Durham could not bring it in. And let's meet Tony La Russa's lineup tonight. Tony was honored here in San Francisco prior to the game for his charitable works here in the Bay Area. Schumacher, Barton, and Pujols are Southwest Airlines starting lineup here in the first. Then Glaus, Ludwig, Molina, Miles, Loge, and Cesar Izturis. A couple of home runs and 21 RBIs and 71 career games against the Giants, and can also tack on a base running mistake from last night. Cardinals were very lethargic, not much passion, and I heard Bernie Miklasz briefly in the pregame show talk about it, but you know, to kind of add to what he was saying, this is a team, Al, that we have seen a new team with new faces, and they've come out and played very, very hard. And you saw last night a team that's a little bit lethargic, and if they're not to that, you know, playing as hard as they can, you can see where they'd be exposed.
Right, and you know, that had the late night, not using that as an excuse, but everyone looked a little out of sync.
Barton in the air to right. Backing up, it's Randy Wynn to put it away for the first out. Schumacher back to first. Let's meet the Giants defense tonight. Around the Horn, as always, brought to you by Auto Tire. Fred Lewis in left, Davis in center, Randy Wynn is in right. Jose Castillo, the former Pirate, is over at third. Bocock at short, Durham at second. Aurelia is over at first base. No Benji Molina tonight behind the plate.
Well, I think that what they want to do is give him the night off, let the young catcher catch, and then you have Molina catch the 2 day games over the weekend.
It is Steve Holm behind the plate. First pitch to Albert Pujols on the outside corner. And a strike. Pujols, a couple of home runs, and those 2 home runs coming in 1 game. That was the finale of the 3-game set against Houston at Minute Maid Park. 4 RBIs and hitting .375 on the year. On base percentage, though, has been terrific. Took something off that pitch and fouled back.
It's a changeup. He's been throwing a lot more of those of late. You know, and used to have the devastating curveball, but when you're not throwing much more than from 82 to 84 miles an hour, you know, it just doesn't have that much of a variance.
Well, even in that changeup right there, Pujols was fooled, but still was able to keep his hands back enough just to foul it back. And I think that's what you're talking about.
Sure.
The 0-2 pitch to Albert. You know, Pujols, I was looking this up. He has only 5 at-bats with runners in scoring position this year. That is it. They've got to have the protection behind him, but Al, you've talked about it so much. The guys in front of him also have to get on and provide some type of protection.
Not only is Zito not throwing very hard, but he's elevating his pitches too. It's a dangerous combination.
Carol Schupak is a huge Cardinals fan, and she is tuned in tonight here on FSN Midwest. And waiting for something special from Pujols. The 2-2 pitch.
Carol hadn't been busy the last few days, has she?
Carol works for American Airlines, and let's just say there's been a few issues with American. But we love her. She helps us out, and she is a Cardinal fan through and through, and we appreciate everything she does for us. Cardinals on base percentage very good. 46 walks the Cardinals have already drawn as a team, and only 52 strikeouts. That's a positive.
Yeah, that's one of the things Hal McRae is really trying to get this club to be ready to swing at the first pitch that they can drive. Oof. But don't be afraid to take pitches that are borderline pitches, something that is what we describe as a pitcher's pitch, because you really aren't going to drive that one.
How about something good right here from Albert Pujols here in the first? Let's see what he can do with this pitch. 3-2. Troy Gloss, average isn't great, but decent numbers against Zito is on deck. Runner goes, and the 3-2 is tap foul. The Cardinals right now are 20th in the major leagues with runners in scoring position. That has been a major problem so far. We talked about it, the fact that Pujols has only been up 5 times with runners in scoring position. So the rest of the lineup's got to pick it up.
Yeah, that's what accentuate the point that, you know, offensively they have to be on top of their game. They just, when they score runs, they're going to have very close games.
3-2 is popped up. Long way to go for Wynn, and he'll make the catch. Schumacher is back to first, and that's 2 outs. And it brings in Troy Gloss. Big out right there for Barry Zito. I'm sure in the back of his mind he's thinking, what else can go wrong? I signed this huge contract. I'm booed my home ballpark on opening day. And I've got Pujols 3-2, and I've already lost 2 games so far this year.
That's about enough.
I mean, there's a lot of pressure on him to perform because of the contract. And people are expecting that. They know what he can bring to the table here in the Bay Area. All his years in Oakland, 7 years with the A's. Cy Young Award winner back in 2002. And a 3-time All-Star. 3 home runs, 9 strikeouts, a bunch of walks though. 12 for Troy Gloss, but hitting below 250 against Barry Zito in his career. There's that curveball in there for a strike, 0-2. Zito at one point arguably had the best breaking ball in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, just a terrific. He's 92-5 when he gets 4 runs in support. See his overall numbers.
113-78 for Barry Zito. 0-2 pitch. Pulled foul. As you mentioned, he has never missed a scheduled start. Matter of fact, 4 times he led the American League in starts. Signed a huge contract before last season, 7 years, $126 million. A check on Schumacher over at first. 0-2 the count on Troy Gloss, who's hitting .257, no home runs, and he's driven in 7. He's done some damage though here on this road trip, in particular with 2 outs. There goes Schumacher, and a swing and a miss. Gloss strikes out. Cardinals strand a runner. Paulos takes to the mound when we come back. Baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager. By Auto Tire. For the lowest prices in town, 26 locations to serve you. Head to Auto Tire. By Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. By Geico Direct. A 15-minute phone call could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Southwest Airlines. The pitch that is up and in. Whoa! I didn't see that. The Hungo has made its way to San Francisco.
It's a Hungo night.
Do we have that shot again, guys? It's a Hungo night. I didn't realize that Hungo had made the trek, even with all the problems with American Airlines, to be here in San Francisco. I was looking at the copy, and I see it, and it popped up. How about that?
Well, it's not that far from Houston to San Francisco.
Well, I hope he got sleep. That's a strikeout on the outside corner and a good start for Kyle Loge.
Why would you expect anything less? He has been outstanding in his first 2 starts, 5 shutout innings, then 7 shutout innings. No decision the first one, a victory in the second. And we're just come to expect him to go out there and throw quality pitches, utilize all of his pitches, and keep hitters off balance.
Here is Davis, and according to the Elias Sports Bureau, Loge is the first St. Louis pitcher since 1900. I found this hard to believe, but the first since 1900 to begin his Cardinals career by not allowing runs in his first 2 back-to-back starts with a minimum of 5 innings in those starts. Into center. Skip Schumacher is there for out number 2. Let's meet the Giants lineup for Bruce Bochy. Lewis, Davis, and Wynn here in the first, followed by their cleanup man, and that is Ray Durham, who has 1 home run and hitting just 200. Then Castillo, Aurelia, 93 games against the Cardinals and 8 home runs. Then Holm, who is the backup catcher. Pocock, who's been playing every inning with Vizquel out, and then the pitcher, Barry Zito, batting 9th. Our Southwest Airlines starting lineup. Randy Wynn hitting .290 so far this year, and he looks at a strike. One of the things that Yadier Molina talked about the other day about Kyle Loge is that he's got a lot better stuff than I saw before. I just didn't realize how good his stuff was until I was catching him. Obviously, he had faced him as a hitter, but that's a little bit different perspective.
Well, and he pitched a couple good games against us. One with Cincinnati, one with Philadelphia last season. So he knew of his reputation, but to see it in action.
Whoa. Let's take a look at the Cardinals defense. Around the horn brought to you by Auto Tire. Barton, Schumacher, Ludwig in the outfield. Loss is Turris, Miles, and Pujols. And Yadier Molina is behind the plate. 3 career starts against the Giants for Kyle Loge. He is a Northern California native. A lot of family and friends in attendance tonight. I talked to Kyle the other day about that. Kyle actually grew up on a 1,000-acre farm. And he said, look, it was either become a farmer or try to become pretty good at baseball. So my brother and I, we said, let's try baseball. It's a little bit easier than being a farmer. And his family still runs that 1,000 acres. And they are here tonight. Strikeout for Loge and 2 in the first inning. No score after 1 here in San Francisco. Cardinals with a base hit. That was the single by Schumacher to start the game. Jose Oquendo, the third base coach of the Cardinals, gives us a quick scouting report on Lewis, Davis, and Randy Winn.
I'd say they doesn't know a lot about their arms, but they charge the ball aggressively. Winn is below average and plays deep and right, where you most time consider to have the best throwing arm. But, you know, Oquendo, his motto is you run on everybody.
There was a little confusion, though, last night on the double by Izturis as to whether or not Oquendo was trying to wave him to go to third, or Izturis did it on his own, trying to extend it to a triple.
Well, I think the rule of thought is if he wasn't sure and he slowed down approaching second base,
then
you stay at second.
Here's Ryan Ludwig. Low and in, taking 4 strike. Didn't like the call. 2-1. The Cardinals against left-handed pitching so far this year, hitting .243. But you know what? They're winning.
3 out of 4 games started by lefties.
Cardinals starting pitching has been so good. I think it's overshadowed some of the deficiencies on this club, in particular what's happening with this lineup.
The thing we have to bear in mind, though, it was so good in the homestand.
Ludwig pops it up. And the catcher, Holm, can't find it. Now he does, and he makes the catch. He didn't see it at first, and then he got the help from Zito and his third baseman, Castillo. This time of night right now, you hit one that high, it is tough to find it.
Yeah, and remember, this is a young man. You see up there, Zito's pointing out, third baseman coming in. Now he locates it, but he was originally, he was a third baseman. It's turned him into a catcher once he signed with the Giants out of Oral Roberts University. And one of the things is don't panic. Keep on looking.
Golden Eagle, the Oral Roberts club, good in baseball, based in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Cardinal country. Here's Yadier Molina with 1 out and no score, nobody on. Molina reached base in 6 of his 7 games so far this season. He was 0 for 3 last night with a walk, and it's the longest hitting streak to start a Cardinal season for Molina since 2003 and overall. Scott Boland had 9 games, Matheny 8 games, started hot out of the box. And Yadier hits it out of play. I thought it was interesting last night when Pujols crossed home plate, and I didn't have a chance to visit with Albert about this or Yadier, but Benji Molina was behind home plate catching, and Pujols had stolen second base down by 5 runs. Now, I just wonder if there was a frustration factor there because Pujols said something to Molina, but he said it with a smile, and then said something to the other Molina, which is Yadier, after he picks up the base hit here, saying, come on, let's go, because he's one of the leaders. But I just wondered if there was something that was into the factor about the stolen base.
Well, you're trailing, and because of the stolen base, that was the only reason he was able to score the Cardinals' lone run.
The Chevy's Cardinals Crew Kids Club features Adam Wainwright this season. And for only $20, you get tickets, gear, an autograph party on September 27th. And those memberships are going very quickly. Number to call is 345-9600 or stlcardinals.com. Brings in Aaron Miles in front of the pitcher, Kyle Loge, who's on deck. Miles, a Bay Area native, and actually sleeping in his first home. He says he was able to now build a home. He's got security because of what he's been able to do in baseball over the last few years, and sleeping at his own house. That's got to be a thrill for him.
Absolutely. And he said his bed felt great.
Good for him. He was on the caravan with me, Al, and I'll tell you what, he's one of the best I've ever had in 10 years of doing that, as far as talking to the fans and being very, very gracious with his time. He was just terrific. His kid's opening day at the ballpark last week, and he was on the Jumbotron answering questions from the fans in the seats.
Yeah, kids were asking questions, and he was standing in front of the dugout responding. But, he understands it's a privilege to wear that uniform. Battled hard several years, always up and down. Now he's getting a stick, making a little money, and he doesn't forget how hard he worked.
2-1 is popped up, backing up the shortstop Brian Bocock, and he makes the play. Did you happen to pay attention when I was voicing the tease tonight of the play of Omar Vizquel during batting practice and what he was able to do with the bat?
He was bunting with the knob.
He bunted it off the top of the bat, then the bottom of the bat.
Okay.
I mean, it was unbelievable. And he reminds me so much of Ozzie going through his pregame routine. You watched Ozzie Smith, and he used to take ground balls at Busch Stadium and then throw without looking to second base, because he said, I always wanted to have a feel for it. If I had to make a diving play, I want to know, where he's at as far as that second baseman. But this was Vizquel before the game. That's not easy to do.
Pretty good concentration.
Then he did it off the top of the bat, the knob of the bat, and went back and forth doing that.
Now, I've seen some guys do it, but they weren't trying.
I'm sure you have, and I've seen it too, but that guy was trying.
Yes, he was trying.
It's good to see him in uniform, and started the season on the DL. And really one of the great defensive players of all time. 1-2 the count of Kyle Loge. A ball and 2 strikes. Kyle Loge trying to pick up his first hit of 08. Cardinals have already stranded a runner tonight. Zito has struck out 1. That was Gloss to end the top of the first. Back to Zito. He'll step and throw. And the Cardinals strand their second runner. We move to the Giants half of the second. They've got Durham, Castillo, and Aurelia coming up.
Back at AT&T Park as we take you inside the baseball archives. On this date in history, April 11th, 1962, the Mets make their NL debut in St. Louis, losing 11-4. They had been rained out the previous night. And gentlemen, the Mets didn't just lose the game. We're told many of the players got stuck in the hotel elevators. All around a bad day for the brand new Mets.
Sounds like a bad day. Thank you, Jim. The Metropolitans, 1962. It was 1957. The Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants left New York for California. Historic day in all of sports. Foul territory. Roger Craig later became the Giants manager. Started that game in '62. Of course, we saw Roger Craig in postseason play against the Cardinals back in 1987.
Memorable times with Roger Craig, the manager, Whitey Herzog, the manager. One time they even got in a fight.
William Shea. Shea Stadium, of course, named after the attorney, William Shea. A big part in making sure that there was baseball in New York outside of the Yankees. The Amazons, the Mets, and both New York teams getting set to move into new ballparks. Yankees, their brand new stadium next year will open up, and Shea Stadium will say goodbye to that. And the All-Star game this year is in Yankee Stadium. And there's a leadoff walk to Ray Durham. And I don't know if you saw this little article, but in the opposing clubhouse, one of the workers that's helping build the new Yankee Stadium actually had a Boston Red Sox t-shirt and put it in to the concrete of new Yankee Stadium to try to put a curse on it.
Oh, really?
How about that?
That's good.
It is good.
Of course, a few Yankees fans might have put that worker in the concrete wearing
I hope they don't
the Boston Red Sox shirt.
Unveil the name, because he's in trouble. I don't know about you. I always liked this guy at the plate. Jose Castillo, the second baseman for the Pirates. And now he is playing third base here in San Francisco. But as you talked about last night, Freddie Sanchez bumped him out of a spot.
I'm going to ask you why, because they've never really...
I always thought he turned a nice double play. He hit well against the Cardinals, it seemed like. I liked him. Just one of those guys that stuck out for me. Hey, you're the analyst. And
I know,
you know a lot more than I do. I'm just the guy that tries to tee him up and you hit him out of the ballpark here.
I just never been a real fan of him, or he's not a guy that really stuck out in what he's done.
What happened with he and the Cardinals? Wasn't it Luna that went in?
Yes.
Double play hard to him, and then he had some knee problems after that.
to Gerald Perry.
That's right. That was one of the incidents. Dave Duncan and Gerald Perry.
Gerald Perry. How come we got a good theme going in fights?
Now, Shelley Duncan just got sent down, didn't he?
Yeah, Shelley got sent down. He was only 1 for 5. And somebody got hurt, and they had to make a change.
Shelley is no stranger to a little controversy with the Yankees, especially in spring training. Can they turn 2? It'll be tough. Miles Isturis on to first, not in time.
Hit just too slowly, but Miles, and you know, a mark of any good second baseman is a ball like that. Can you get the lead runner? Make sure you get the lead runner. You keep the double play in order. Keep that man out of scoring position. And sometimes you got to have little guts, because it's a much more difficult play than the easy play at first.
50 years of baseball here in the Bay Area for the San Francisco Giants. They are celebrating that this year. And how about our Did You Know with Rich Aurelia? Little League number 22, retired by Our Lady of Grace League in Brooklyn. I did not know that. Now that is saying something. If you are a little leaguer and get your number retired, that means you probably hit 900 over an 8-year span. Or you give them a lot of money.
Or Cardinal killer.
Or you just say, you know what, I'm Rich Aurelia, and I really enjoyed my time at this Little League facility. And by the way, here's a check for about $500,000. So go ahead and build yourself some fields. And then they come back a couple weeks later and say, Rich, we remember how good you were. Would you please come and have your number retired? Spacious ballpark here in San Francisco. That'll stay in.
It's kind of what you did at Vianney, isn't it?
Yeah, I was a little shocked that I was inducted into the Hall of Fame. 50 years for the San Francisco Giants. They began play at Seal Stadium. Then it was Candlestick. And as I mentioned before, they moved into AT&T Park, this ballpark, 8 years ago today.
The Brooklyn Dodgers were committed to coming to California, but you had to have a partner. So, Maui's talked the Stonemans into moving the Giant franchise. And then they got tricked, because they went out to Candlestick Point. Every time they examined that area of the coastline, it was about 10 o'clock in the morning.
But what happens at about 7 o'clock at night?
It drops about 80 degrees in temperature and gets about a 50-mile-an-hour wind.
You know why I'm excited? I'll tell you here in a minute. The weather has been perfect. The scoop over there by Pujols. But how about this weather in the Bay Area? It's been beautiful so far. No score as we move to the third. Season long, when the Cardinals score 6 or more runs, get a 20-ounce coffee, fountain, or frozen drink for only a quarter all day. The next day at The Run on mobile. Win or lose, the Cardinals score 6. You score 25-cent drinks at On the Run. San Francisco, Barry Zito back to work. Zito has struck out 1 and allowed a couple of hits. So far in San Francisco, going back to last year and this year, he is 11-15 with an ERA of 4.62, which really makes you wonder about giving long-term contracts, in particular, to pitchers. He got a long-term deal. He got 7 years, $126 million.
You were a frustrated hitter, weren't you?
Very, very frustrated. That's why I'm up here.
Well, a lot of people try to avoid giving anything longer than a 3-year contract to a pitcher. But if somebody else is going to go out and give guys 5, 6, 7 years, and if it's somebody that you really want, you're either going to lose out or you're going to have to join the crowd. But most clubs don't want to.
Kevin Brown was the first $100 million man in baseball. But how about Mike Hampton, Darren Dreifort, Chan-Ho Park, Carl Pavano, all got huge deals that did not pan out. I mean, you're handing out $126 million to a guy that plays every 5th day. On the ground to short. Bocock makes the play.
Well, one of the things you have to hope is Cardinals, this is the third time they've seen Zito since he's come over to the Giants. But, you know, now that you've seen him one time tonight, hopefully you make some adjustments. He's throwing a lot of pitches up in the zone, but they're up out of the zone. That's producing some of the pop-ups.
There's Skip Schumacher. He has a base hit. Started the game with a hit. Scooted past the shortstop, Brian Bocock. Kevin Correa got the start last night for San Francisco, and he was very, very good. There's that big breaking ball that just missed. He pitched well since they put him in the rotation. The right-hander last night, 3-1 in late season starts. A lot of pitches were low and away. And remember when they went out and had to check on him, it was cramps, not in his pitching hand, but the other hand.
Non-pitching hand.
Which makes you wonder that, you know, at this point in time in the season, why would you keep him out there? But they did.
Kept him out, gave up 2 more hits. How about Schumacher's 7 for 15 on the road trip?
Correa was a guy, though, I think for a lot of fans in St. Louis, you say, well, who is this guy and why did that happen? He's actually pretty good, you know, especially since they moved him to the rotation.
Yeah, he pitched the last couple of years out of the bullpen, and down the stretch last year they moved him in the rotation. And quite a bit like Wellemeyer and Brad Thompson, when they maybe not individually he didn't get the win, but he kept his team into the game, so the team got the team victory.
The 2-2 pitch taken upstairs, but you're right, Al. Schumacher, well, maybe there was a pressure of just playing at home in the first week or so of the regular season, trying to prove that he belongs here in this spot in the order. But recently he's really picked it up and looks good. There's a base hit out to left, and Schumacher is 2 for 2. And it's good to see him doing it against left-handed pitching tonight.
Absolutely. And left-handed hitters were only batting 200 against Zito. Righties were batting over 400. So Schumacher 2 for 2, both times going to the opposite field. This one definitely hit. The other one, he just knocked it past the shortstop. But starting to get into that groove. And remember, he hit 400 from late in the season to the end of the season last year and hit 333 overall.
Here's Brian Barton batting second in this lineup. Again, there's speed at the top of the lineup in front of Pujols tonight. Barton in the air, right center. Davis is back and makes the catch. What's interesting, though, right now is you have a runner at first base, and many times this season, you know, Pujols has come up with nobody on. And at least it changes your process in how you face an Albert Pujols with a runner at first base, and that's occupied. Agreed?
It does, and yet at times, you know, that Tony will, you know, sometimes he will say, okay, have that guy steal, have him get into second base. They want to walk Albert, that's fine. It goes back to the fact you have to have people hitting in front of him and behind him.
Pujols, 73-mile-an-hour pitch, and looks at it for a strike. You talked about it, partner, but this guy does not throw hard anymore. At one point, he was a pitcher that would throw 91, 92, hit 93, but that's not the case anymore.
And then that curveball, you can see how effective it would be. Big overhand curveball would, you know, and you'd just be fooled with it. Right now, his fastball is really below the hitting zone. And Major League hitting, Major League fastballs, he's throwing his velocity is below it, which sometimes can be tough.
And why do you say that?
Well, because even at this level, they're used to seeing what would classify a Major League fastball. An average Major League fastball, guys will crush. But you get it 3 or 4 miles below that, they can't hold back. You know,
eyes light up.
Their timing, you know, they're out in front because they just expect more.
Smoked out to right center. Davis on the move. Can't come up with it. Schumacher on his way to third. He will score. And Pujols on his way to second base. And he delivers with 2 outs. And the Cardinals lead it by the score of 1-0. Just another rocket off the bat of Albert Pujols. Great effort out there by Davis in center, and he came up just a little bit short.
See, the ball is up in the zone, and Albert has that ability to hit a line drive when the ball is up. It's going to tail away from the center fielder, and Davis gives it a ride. Schumacher was running. He was going to score once that ball got away from the center fielder, or separation with the glove.
And it brings in Troy Gloss. This is where the Cardinals have really struggled this year. Runners in scoring position. Again, good on-base percentage, but can they bring him in? Gloss struck out swinging his first time up.
Troy, one of the better hitters on the road trip. Batting over 350. And he's driven in runs in each of the 4 games of the road trip with a total of 5 RBIs.
A lot of his damage done with 2 outs. Can he do it again? The 0-1 pitch. Loss. Long fly ball and way to go for a win, but he makes the catch near the line. Albert Pujols with 2 outs. A double over the head of Davis in center field that scores Schumacher all the way from first base. And Pujols picks up RBI number 5. 1-0 St. Louis midway through 3. One to nothing Cardinals. 4 hits for St. Louis, none for San Francisco as Loge goes back to work here in the bottom of the 3rd. Albert Pujols, an RBI double to score a run. RBI number 5 is Bocock sends this one out of play and foul. Brian Bocock, the shortstop, and the backup to Omar Vizquel, hitting just .179. Bocock, Barry Zito, and Fred Lewis for the Giants in their half of the 3rd. Good pitch. Do you remember his stuff being this good?
No. And I don't remember him being, throwing so strikes and having such good command. Remember, I was impressed with him.
Curveball that's hit hard, but a diving play made by Cesar Izturis. Izturis catches the first out of this 3rd inning. Big 12 baseball returns to FSN. Tune in Saturday as the Kansas Jayhawks host the Texas Tech Red Raiders in Big 12 action. Live coverage begins at noon right here on FSN Midwest. We're going to have a special thanks to Lars. And there's Lars, our technical director tonight. He has done a wonderful job last night and again this evening. Our thanks to Lars. Do you know Lars, Al?
No.
Slowly hit to 3rd. Gloss up with it, and Zito is out number 2. That's what a technical director does. He sits behind that keypad and just hangs out. But really, he is good at it.
This is a good crew out here. We've always enjoyed working with the San Francisco crew.
Here's Fred Lewis, called out on strikes back in the 1st inning. Mentioned that Kyle Loge is from Northern California, and he grew up an Oakland A's fan. And he said, in particular, telling me the other night, he grew up rooting for McGuire and Canseco, and in particular as well, Tony La Russa. I said, well, what's it like for you now that he's your manager? And he said, well, when you get into baseball and you see him at this point, he said, I'm not a kid anymore. He said, so I grew up enjoying his teams, but on the other side, competing against him, you just don't understand Tony La Russa. Now that I'm on his side, I have a full appreciation for he and his staff, and that includes Dave Duncan, and those two have meshed right from the get-go midway through March when he was signed.
Well, and Kyle Loge is a prime example of what Dave Duncan can take a pitcher to the next level. One, he's got very good stuff, and he has the command and the ability to execute that game plan. We talk about Dave will say, okay, this is how to retire hitters, but you still have to execute. He has the command to do so.
2-2 pitch. Lined fair. Into the corner it goes. And it looks like it was touched by a fan, so that will be a ground rule double. The Cardinals catch a break. Fred Lewis will stop at second base.
With his speed.
You know, it's interesting that that happens against Fred Lewis. And I don't know if you noticed this last night, but Fred Lewis kind of pulled a Moises Alou with Bartman last night. You remember seeing that play?
Yes, down the left field line, and claimed that a Cardinal fan knocked his glove away and kept him from catching the ball in foul territory. Let's watch the fan.
A little ironic it happens here to Lewis on the other side, but you know, he did a reaction that was similar to Moises Alou, and he was upset because he thought he could have made the play last night.
But you also see where Moises Alou has now come out and say that I couldn't make that play.
And Bartman is saying, you know, Moises, thanks.
Give me back 4 years.
But why could you have said that night? You've made my life miserable. Now you say it. It's a little late. Lewis, the 2-out double. Lowe's will stand away from the rubber and regroup.
I'm sure there's some eagle-eye lawyer that's probably investigating. Maybe I can get Bartman to. We'll go sue Moises Alou.
What is it with you and lawyers?
Oh, I just think they're wonderful.
Well, you have not had to deal with many in your professional career or in your private life, and that's been good for you. What are you smiling about over there?
You know. That's a good one, Dan.
Routed to second, and Miles is there and puts it away. The Giants strand a runner. That's Lewis out at second. Lowe's is cruising through 3, 1-0 St. Louis. Ryan Ludwig takes a strike, and we start play here in the 4th inning with the Cardinals leading by a run thanks to Albert Pujols, his RBI double, to make it 1-0 with 2 outs back in the 3rd. Ludwig popped out to the catcher his first time up. It'll be Ludwig, Molina, and Aaron Miles. Cardinals trying to pick up win number 8 on the year. They are 7-3. The Giants, after losing a bunch early on, have now won 3 straight. They won 2 of those 3 in walk-off fashion.
Cincinnati has lost to the Pirates. Chicago loses Philadelphia. Milwaukee loses to the Mets.
So you're saying it's a chance to separate yourself a little bit here.
Big time. Roy Oswalt was a scheduled starter for Houston tonight, and they're losing 10-6 to Florida in the 9th inning. Roy could be 0-3.
Zito is known for his offbeat personality. Also created the charity Strikeouts for Troops, which provides money to hospitals for soldiers wounded in military operations. It's nice of him to do that. They have raised, he's gotten other ball players to do it at the major league level. They have raised close to $1 million. Castillo to his left shows off the arm.
Good arm, Dan.
I knew you liked him. Cardinal Baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by Kia Motors. Kia, the power to surprise. And by Aflac. Aflac, ask about it at work. The city by the bay, San Francisco, California. Absolutely gorgeous night for baseball. Normally at this time of year and this time of night, we've got our heaters up here, but we don't need them tonight.
Heaters, overcoats.
Molina in the air. Is there a play for Randy Wynn? Foul territory. He makes the catch. Yadier is 1 for 2, and it brings in Aaron Miles. Three-time All-Star is Barry Zito, and he grew up learning pitching from Randy Jones. I remember that name. He won the National League Cy Young Award back in 1976.
That makes good barbecue at the old stadium in San Diego. I don't know. Has he got a stand at the new one?
I'm not sure if he does or not, but Zito, at the age of 10, began taking lessons from Randy Jones, and he had a pitching mound in his backyard. His dad really pushed him towards the game.
Randy with little left-hander threw a screwball.
And a swing and a miss, and Miles strikes out. Aaron is saying he got a piece. Apparently he did not, and a strikeout for Zito. Number 2 on the night, midway through 4 here in San Francisco. 1-0 Cards. Well, Sunday, it's the groundbreaking show that earned 4 Emmy nominations for combining sports and science, and it returns as we show you what surprising factors make the going tough for even the world's most elite athletes, and how, through it all, the tough gets going. Sports Science to the max this Sunday at 9, only on FSN Midwest. Gallo's back to work. Randy Wynn, Ray Durham, and Jose Castillo for the Giants here in their half of the 4th. Breaking ball taken a little low.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You know, Dale Scott, crew chief, is back behind the plate. And sometimes it's hard for us to judge up and down. But Kyle Loesch, if those are balls, he is just missing slightly.
1-0 pitch. That's in there for a strike. And Loesch just looked back at the mound, and we talked about this last night, how some of the pitchers have been complaining that the height is fine, how high it is, the mound, but it's where they land. They feel that it doesn't feel right.
Doesn't have the slope that they're accustomed to. So when you throw your pitch and your landing foot hits, it hits higher or it hits sooner than what you think, and so you're standing more erect and you're not throwing downhill.
1-2 pitch. And again, there's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That just missed. 2-2 the count.
Looks like it's at the knees. Looks like it's in a pretty good place, but no call.
Next to Randy Wynn. Full count.
See the life on his pitches with a late movement.
That would make it difficult, especially if you warm up in the bullpen and then get onto a mound that's completely different than what you're used to. Off the glove of Loesch, this will be a base hit. If he lets it go, it's probably an out. But how do you convince a guy on the mound not to go for it? It's tough to do.
It really is, because you're a competitor. You think you can field your own position. The ball's coming back relatively, you know, it's not hit hard enough. And that's what you're saying, that, you know, it'll be corralled by either the shortstop or second baseman behind the mound.
Cardinals baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. AT&T Park in San Francisco. Dan McLaughlin, Al Raboski. And this is Ray Durham, who walked his first time up. Last night for Wainwright, it seemed that it took him a little bit to get going. 30 pitches in the first inning, and then after that, he really settled in until the 7th. He struggled a little bit in that 7th inning.
Right. This is Durham, who's batting 4th in the lineup, but he's had a history with Loesch, a successful one.
Adam Wainwright, 7 innings pitched last night. Took the loss. Not much offense, though, for the Cardinals.
You know, Adam is a stand-up guy, and he's going to take more blame than he probably should have. But the one thing that he said, you know, he had trouble getting the ball down. And that's what we're talking, a byproduct of what this mound and not having the slope that they're accustomed to.
The 0-2 pitch on its way. In the air to center field, and that's going to drop in for a base hit. Back-to-back singles from Wynn and Durham. But all of a sudden, the Giants have something going here.
The first one should have been an out, but here Durham, look at, goes down, a low ball hitter. He's a switch hitter, so it really is more dramatic. They're low ball hitters from the left side, more of a high ball hitter from the right side. And he was batting .321 off of Loesch coming in.
So now you have Castillo, who is 0 for 1. The Giants coming into the season had a concern with their age as far as how old they were starting to get. Castillo hits it slowly to Pujols. He can go to second. It'll be first and third with only one out. A little hesitation there by everybody.
Well, I think Albert was checking to see could he get the lead runner. and an awkward throw for him, but you still have the double play in order.
One of the guys that is getting older on this roster is coming up to the plate, and that's Rich Aurelia. Fly to center his first time up. But you look at this team, Al, they've got Durham at 36, Aurelia 36, Molina is 33, Dave Roberts is out with surgery, and there you see the play by Albert Pujols to go to second. It's not a young team, and Bonds is no longer here.
Yeah, and I think the Giants are really scouring their farm system, and they say if they see somebody that's pretty athletic and got some promise, even if he's at the A-ball level, the second half he may be here at the big leagues, and some of these veteran guys may become attracted to the contenders down the stretch.
First and third. Lowe's could use the double play right here. Rich Aurelia fly to center, and right now he is tied with Matt Williams for 9th place on the Giants hits list here in San Francisco.
14 years in the big leagues, 11 with the Giants. He could be an attractive acquisition.
Shallow center, drops in for a hit. And the game is tied. It's 1-1. Aurelia, little blue pit, now 9th place all alone on that hits list. And he drives in an RBI, his 3rd of the season. 3 hits in the inning.
And if you're a pitcher and that's the first run that Loesch has given up in 15 1/3 innings to start 08, you sit there and say, hit it like a man, right off the end of the bat, totally fooled, off balance, and yet perfectly placed in front of Schumacher, the center fielder.
Do you put Loesch in the category of, Jeff Weaver and Todd Wellemeyer, Suppan, guys that get to St. Louis and all of a sudden, and I know it's early with him, but all of a sudden get with Dave Duncan and they turn into a better pitcher?
I would think that putting him more in the category like Suppan, and I think we'd all be very happy if he pitches effectively as Suppan did with the Cardinals.
Kyle was telling me the other night, he said, I just can't believe the amount of preparation. You don't understand that from the other side that Dave Duncan puts into these games and these charts and the video. He said, if you're not prepared, it's your fault. Did it hit him? Yes, it did. And now the bases are loaded. And it almost looked as if he was ready to offer out the pitch and did not get out of the way.
He's a young hitter that hadn't played above Double-A, and you see it get him on the.
I mean, he's almost over the plate.
Committing. Yeah, he's out there committing to swing, and Dave Duncan immediately will come out and detect a little bit, slow things down. You've got a young man here that is really struggling at the plate, and you've got to really wonder, is the squeeze play a possibility?
Inning started with a base hit by Randy Wynn. He was then driven in by Aurelia. Durham is over at 3rd base. Runner at 2nd base, and then you have Steve Holm, who was just hit by the pitch. So the bases are now loaded for the Giants. Brian Bocock, first time ever in the big leagues with the bases loaded. And a chance now to really make a name for himself here early on.
And he made the opening day roster, and he's had never appeared above Single-A.
We are in the 4th. Bases loaded, 1 out.
Dan, they said he was a top newcomer in spring training with a 183 average.
Wow. 183 average.
183 average, never played above Double-A, and he was their prize, but they talk about his defense.
Again, Vizquel is on the disabled list. In the air to center, another blue pit. That drops in. 1 run is in. Thrown by Schumacher to the plate. That's in time, and they got him. Second time that Schumacher has thrown somebody out at the plate this year, but the Giants have the lead as Aurelia is gunned down, and it's 2-1.
Schumacher, 2nd assist this year, 3rd of his career. And we've always talked about it, that he's got a strong throwing arm. His chance to charge aggressively, come up firing, just be in the vicinity. And Molina had enough time to not only catch the ball, put both hands, apply the tag to sliding feet first in there, and hold on to it.
Molina with 2 hands applying that tag too.
If he had one, it would have been kicked out. The ball would have been kicked out of the glove, so he had to use 2 hands.
Breaking ball that was taken outside by Barry Zito. 2-1 Giants. I don't know about you, Al, but I look at this series as a series where you at least need to split, if not take 3 or 4. This is a team that certainly you have to look at and say, hey, we got a chance to gain some ground here early on against a team that, on paper at least, is not very good. Their pitching has a chance to be good, but this everyday lineup, I mean, tonight they've got Ray Durham hitting cleanup.
Yes. You know, you've got a couple kids in there, 7th and 8th. Holm never played above Double-A. Bocock never played above A ball. You got this pitcher spot here.
The 2-1 pitch. 3-1.
Like I said, you know, these borderline pitches, it's almost like Dale Scott make these pitchers put it on a tee.
No need to be borderline here, though, with the pitcher up. Go right after him. The 3-1. Not a great swing that time from Barry Zito on a 3-1 pitch.
Defensively, they've got him played all the way around the outfield. If he pulls anything in the right field corner, it may be an inside the Parker. But they don't think he can get around on a pitch.
Look how shallow they are, too. That's amazing. I don't know if we've seen the Cardinals play like this unless it was the game at the end.
You got all that gap out into right field, and then it's a big gap in center field.
And Zito picks up the base hit. Barton will come up firing to the plate. Yes, he got him. He's out at the plate. Barton, a strong throw from left field. First time we've seen him throw. 2 plays at the plate to help out Kyle Loge. Schumacher, the first one, as he would get Rich Aurelia from center field. And then this one hopper to the plate from Brian Barton. Good throw. And it keeps it a 2-1 Giants lead. Our score is 2-1 Giants as we move to the top of the 5th here in San Francisco. The best damn sports show period is the greatest nightly sports show on television. Tonight we've got NFL great Deion Sanders. His wife is also a part of the program. She'll tell us about the real prime time. Deion Sanders and his wife coming up on the best damn sports show period.
Barry Zito going out for the all-important 5th inning with the lead. Giants are opportunistic. They've won 3 close ball games, 2 of them by a walk-off fashion before the Cardinals came in town last night.
I would think that throw by Brian Barton would help his cause as far as more playing time.
Absolutely. You know, he was playing shallow, but he charged the ball well, came up firing well, and threw a strike. And, you know, he works hard at it. And Dave McKay always constantly working with the outfielders. So they felt like, even though in spring training he was very shaky defensively, that he's been progressing at a good rate, and they feel that he'll be fine.
Dave McKay working with the outfielders in spring training and throughout the season. The 0-2 pitch upstairs to Kyle Loge. Loge is Turris. And then the top of the lineup, Skip Schumacher for St. Louis. One of the things we heard is that Barton's defense is shaky. Loge, line drive. Durham stays with it. And in particular, his arm and the kind of jumps that he gets. But so far, so good. Our end-game box score for the Cardinals, brought to you by Firestone. Schumacher is 2 for 2. The other base hits from Pujols and Yadier Molina. Molina now has hit 7 of his 8 starts. Firestone and the end game box score.
And one thing about Barton too, as we go along, to be further in his, rehab of his knee surgery.
Good point.
So getting a little more athletic where you can charge and bend.
It's popped up but out of play. Do you think that's also part of the reason why he has not played more? The fact that, he's coming off a couple of knee surgeries and just not only trying to ease him mentally and physically into the game at this level, but also trying to take care of the knee too.
I think the knee's fine. And once he saw the doctor that performed the surgery in Florida and gave him the okay.
Broken bat and a base hit. Isturis is 1 for 2.
I think a lot of it, Dan, had to do with the fact that, going in, you were thinking that Duncan is going to be your normal left fielder. He had the hamstring. You didn't want him sitting too long. You wanted him to get some multiple at bats.
This year, when you can't be home to watch the Cardinals right here on FSN, well, check out MLB.tv, and you can go online to watch every out-of-market Cardinals game this season live. STLCardinals.com, where baseball is always on. Here is Skip Schumacher with 1 out. Schumacher 2 for 2 with a run scored. The only run scored by the Cardinals tonight. Barry Zito trying to get through 5. In Zito's defense, and that's a quick move over there to first, he has been matched up with some pretty good pitchers here in the first 2 games.
Ben Sheets was one, right?
Yeah, and then Brad Penny being the other against the Dodgers.
Well, but you're the $126 million man. You're supposed to be equal to the other team's best.
Schumacher hits it out of play.
Now, a lot of players want to get paid handsomely, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with it.
You're the ace. That's the responsibility. Correct?
That's it.
0-1 the count on Skip Schumacher. Leadoff spot for Tony La Russa has been a spot of mixing and matching here at the top of the lineup. It's been Schumacher, it's been Barton, it's even been Cesar Isturis.
Think about the old days when the club would come out and face the Dodgers and the Giants. And you got Drysdale, Koufax, Padres, Sutton. Up here you get Marichal, Gaylord Perry.
Schumacher slowly hit towards second, and an error by Durham. He struggled on the ball that was hit by Lowe's just moments ago.
This one will be an E4. I don't know if he went a little bit too far to his left. Come back, it just seemed like it was relatively easy, and see, he looked like he was beyond it, and then it kind of was a little bit, tried to move his glove and catch it behind him. As it is, the Cardinals and Barton have an opportunity here with just 1 out.
How many times do you see a guy have a defensive play and then come up the next inning and do something offensively? It carries over. Let's see what happens here with Brian Barton. Barton has flied out to center and flied to right. E4 on that play.
First one, he kind of got underneath it, hit a pop-up. Second one was a little more of a line drive to center.
One out, runners at first and second for the Cardinals and Brian Barton. First pitch is taken for a strike on the outside corner. A fascination in town with Brian Barton. Folks want to see him play.
And his 12 days in the big leagues.
Right. Let's hold off. Let's make sure he can just ease into this. First and second. 1 out. Barton. Shallow right. Wynn will make the catch. Barton is 0 for 3. But you gotta like this. You got first and second for Albert Pujols. Pujols with the lone RBI tonight. His double over the head of Davis in center. And that would drive in Skip Schumacher back in the third. Pujols with 5 RBIs on the year.
Times where the Cardinals have been good with 2 out. And obviously your best hitter at the plate.
This is only the 6th time in this season that Pujols has been up with a runner in scoring position. First and second. And the first pitch to Pujols. Albert unloads. Deep left field. Goodbye home run. Pujols a 3-run shot. You give him a chance and he'll burn you. Cardinals back on top. Woo. Got out in a hurry.
All 4 RBIs tonight for Albert Pujols, his 3rd home run. Another pitch up in the zone, and Albert has that ability to, he can put a level swing on it and hit a line drive. No doubt about it. 4th home run that Zito has already given up. These are 3 unearned runs because of the error by Durham, but they all count on the scoreboard.
Kind of got the feel that was coming, didn't you?
Yeah. You know, you bring up Albert.
The error is costly in this inning by Ray Durham.
I think when Albert was fooled the first time up and just hits a little fly ball to right field, you go.
Left center field, that's down for a base hit. Troy Gloss now 1 for 3, and it's back-to-back hits for St. Louis.
You know, you're just talking about the 3rd time through this order, and they've gotten an idea that, you know, they're getting themselves out more than Zito was getting them out earlier in the game. Dave Regretti, pitching coach, and a good one, out to talk to Zito.
Pujols with 4 RBIs on the night. All 4 for St. Louis, and they lead it 4-2. Dave Regretti, did you know? Giants pitching coach, the father of triplets. I did know that. Just got to do a little research, Al.
Okay, who else is playing in the major leagues, the father of triplets?
Gonzalez in Florida. Next question. I am ready.
How many kids do you have?
2.
Very
Trust
good.
me,
Very good.
I am all over.
I know there's only 2.
Luis Gonzalez.
That wasn't easy.
I'll never forget working with Jack Buck in one of the games, and he went to go interview Luis Gonzalez. Luis, you are tired. Yes, I am, Jack. 3 kids. 1-0 pitch to Ludwig. 2 balls and no strikes. Jack had the uncanny ability to get information out of people that he may not really, have known on a personal level, but they knew him. And when he asked you for the interview, you just said when and what time and where.
You were honored that he knew your name or asked you to go on the, his interview program. But he had that ability to ask a question that really was not a question. So the guy could be comfortable in taking it any place he wanted.
And when I say when, I mean, he'd give you the day. He'd say, okay, Al Hrabosky, it's game 1. I'll interview you, and before game 2 at 3 o'clock, and we'll meet over there. And more times than not, the ball players would say, yes, sir. You bet, Mr. Buck, I'll be over there. Jason Isringhausen has talked about the thrill of being interviewed by Mike Shannon and at the time Jack Buck, growing up in Brighton, Illinois, and a Cardinal fan. Want to win the ticket game? Go to StubHub.com. It's fast and easy. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the St. Louis Cardinals. Albert Pujols with 4 RBIs tonight. Now with 8 on the season. And here's Molina. Chance to add to this lead. Troy Gloss is the runner at second base.
Look at Albert cheering on Molina and his teammates.
How about the fans, though, here in San Francisco, how quickly they turn on Barry Zito. You get a contract like that, and it's the responsibility that you also take on and the heat that you take from the fans. Agreed?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I mean, he was booed on opening day, and after the home run, there was some boos. Some boos after the walk to Ludwig. Oh, 0-2 the count on Molina. Molina has singled, and he's also flied out to right.
But you get the idea. What I'm saying is a lot of these guys feel like they've been getting themselves out more so than Zito getting them out.
Room into left center for Molina. Reaches for it. Slowly hit. Who's going to take it? It'll be Castillo. Throws on the run. The pick over there by Rich Aurelio. Albert Pujols. One swing of the bat, and the Cardinals are back on top. Pujols with number 3. 4 ribbies on the night. No doubt about it for number 5. 4-2 Cardinals. Let's take a look at the Bud Light. What's on tap? Bud Light keeps it coming. Jay Randolph and Ricky Horton on Sunday at 2:30 on Channel 5 on KSDK and the Cardinals Television Network. Just saw Jay. He is up here. And he said he had a heck of a time getting from St. Louis to the West Coast, but he is here and ready to go for Sunday at 2:30.
Ricky better clean up his reputation.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, a fan asked me, Rick, sign my card.
Yeah. You guys are on opposite ends of the spectrum, to say the least. Now let's see if Loge can settle in. It was not a very good 4th inning for Kyle Loge. Inning in which he gave up 5 base hits and hit a man.
Yeah. Not all of them were really solidly hit, but the team got him the lead. All important 5th inning.
2-1 is a base hit. Fred Lewis on his way to second base, and his second double of the night. Is he thinking 3? No, he'll stop.
Torres almost decapitated Miles as he fired the ball into third base, but Lewis got a little pop in his bat. Ball sliding away from him, sliced down into the left field corner, and he can run. Get a better look at where this ball and what happens to it down the corner, because at one time he thought about going to third. Now watch this throw here as Miles is right there.
Oh.
The second cutoff man, it's a good thing he's short.
You see him looking back at him?
He goes, wait a minute. I'm on your team.
So Lewis is 2 for 3 with a couple of doubles, and now it's Davis who is fly to center and grounded out to second. First pitch to him showing bunt, and bunts one foul.
Davis, one of the players acquired in the Matt Morris deal.
Matt Morris with Pittsburgh. Cardinals had interest in Morris at the end of last season. Got beat up pretty good last night, and surprisingly this year for the Cardinals, a surplus of pitching. I think people are starting to get a little excited about Mulder after the reports that we're getting the last couple of days with him. Fastball and fouled into the seats.
Even though Mulder had a very good first season with the Cardinals and should have won 20 games, I think a lot of people believe he was kind of damaged goods at that time. Maybe he was didn't know that he was hurt, but he never had the velocity where he had in the American League.
Just shows you then how good he might be. That's a good piece of hitting on an 0-2 pitch. The runner will advance to third. Davis does his job, and it brings in Randy Winn. He was a 17-game winner in the first season, and then Isringhausen blew either 3 or 4 of the games that were potential W's for Mark Mulder. So Davis does his job, moves the runner over to third with 1 out.
Bruce Bochy appreciates that, because this is a lot of young guys that, they're trying to find a way to play the game and play it properly, play team baseball.
Randy Wynn, and that's probably the way they're going to have to generate their offense, because no Bonds, not a lot of pop in this lineup. So small ball, just trying to advance runners, do anything they can to generate some type of offense.
Right, and we got one out, runner at third base. Mindset, pop him up on the infield.
Just missing on the inside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike.
A good area right there that where you jam them.
I would hope that this setting, AT&T Park, comes across well on television, because as we have talked about, it is one of the most beautiful settings for baseball. Absolutely gorgeous here in the Bay Area.
Not only is it a picturesque setting, but you get to see the water, the lights across to Oakland. And with this type of weather, a real bonus.
2-1 pitch. Back to Lowe's, and he knocks it down, looks back the runner, and that is out number 2. A huge out as they get Randy Wynn, and this is our Hardy's hot pitch of the game. Kyle Lowe's to Randy Wynn, and Lowe's this time fields his position and just was able to knock it down.
Yeah, their breaking ball stays up a little bit, but he knocks it down. Not going on contact, so he looks the runner back and then gets the second out. Right now, you got to be a little, Durham has had success against Lowe's, so it's kind of that situation. You don't let him drive in that run.
Loss is in over at third. Outfield is straight away. First pitch, a swing and a miss. Bottom dropped out of it. And Durham tonight, the cleanup man, has walked and also singled and scored. And we saw a very good changeup that time from Kyle Lowe's.
I throw the kitchen sink at him right now.
Pujols is playing way back over at first. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Durham is 10 for 29 against Lowe's. He's all in his career. He walked the first time up, and he got a base hit in the 4th.
1-1 pitch. Don't mind that pitch right there, do you?
Not at all. You do that, and one, you're going to make sure that you don't leave a pitch out over the plate. You get somebody moving back, get a little conscious of that ball inside. He can't cover the inside and the outside part of the plate, so it opens up something away.
2-1 down in the zone, and it's now 2-2.
Pulled the string again, but excellent location down and away, and him swinging over the top.
This would be a huge out and maybe a turning point in this game. If they don't score with a runner at third and only 1 out, doesn't look like they will. Miles is there, makes the play, and the Giants strand a runner at third with only 1 out. Lowe's gets out of the jam, and it keeps it 4-2 Cardinals as we move to the 6th. Baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by Rico. Move your ideas forward with Rico dependability. And by your Missouri, Illinois Dodge dealers. And by Jack in the Box, where we don't make it till you order it. Had a chance to visit with Willie McCovey tonight. Stretch. As you will see, he along with Willie Mays occasionally here at the ballpark.
I got to face him. That was enough. All I needed.
How many did he do contribute? The 521 career home runs that he had.
Dan, that's one thing we have in common. Neither one of us gave up one to Stretch.
Is that right?
Right.
Hall of Famer. He was a former Rookie of the Year. Has a restaurant in Walnut Creek. Shallow left center field. And the catch is made by Davis.
Faced him not only here in San Francisco, but after he left here and went to San Diego.
Willie McCovey. Very kind of him to sign a baseball for my charity golf tournament coming up in October. Hope you'll be a part of it. There's Kyle Lowe's. And 521 home runs hit by McCovey. And I was talking with one of the beat writers here in San Francisco. and they have been doing 50 years of Giants baseball. And I said, if you had to put together a middle of an order for the all-time Giants team, I said, how about Mays, Bonds, McCovey? So that sounds pretty good. I mean, think about some of the sluggers that they have had specifically here in San Francisco. They have had great hitters with the Giants in this organization. In the air to right for out number 2. That's not bad right there.
Right. They were one of the first, clubs to really scout the Dominican Republic and got a lot of talent out of there.
About Cepeda. There you go.
Puerto Rico.
Right, but
yeah,
I'm just saying.
Another hitter.
Right.
Yeah. The Alous.
Yeah.
One time all 3 of the Alou brothers played here.
Moises, of course, is with the Mets, but Felipe is still consultant with the San Francisco Giants, and Bruce Bochy took over for Felipe Alou. Cesar Izturis is 1 for 2 on the night. Cardinals lead it 4-2 as Pujols has all 4 RBIs. Izturis with a run scored. He singled back in the 5th and grounded out to short his first time up.
And as part of the 50th anniversary celebration, every game they have a former player present. Today it's Darrell Evans,
former All-Star with the Giants. 50 years here in the Bay Area. They, along with the Dodgers, coming to California. For a long time, the Cardinals were the team that was furthest west in the United States. The fan base was huge in the Midwest and still is.
And during that time, Houston was a farm team of the Cardinals. So was Atlanta.
2-2 on Izturis. And a nice visit with Willie McCovey. I walked in there and he was all smiles, just like you saw there on the screen.
One time I got Darrell Evans was the final out of 3 consecutive games for a save for him.
Is that right? Of course, you wouldn't remind him of that, would you?
I don't need to.
Izturis, 3 hops to short. Cardinals go 1-2-3. Midway through 6, the city by the bay. The Cardinals lead it 4-2. The second annual career fair at Busch Stadium is on Tuesday, April 29th. Representatives from many of the area's top corporations will be on hand. It's a pregame career fair. One great price. Gets you admission to the fair, a ticket to the game. The Reds are in town. That means Ken Griffey Jr. 345-9500 to find out more. Ken Griffey Jr. is closing in on another milestone. Of course, he picked up number 500 in St. Louis on Father's Day at the old Busch Stadium.
Closing in on 600.
Never heard his name with the steroid era, have we?
Nope. And it's good news because, boy, he plays the game right, plays it hard.
Here's Jose Castillo. He is 0 for 2. Good pitch.
Well, the great pitch was the first one, where he bat on the shoulder and ran it up and in on him, got the foul ball. That'll get a hitter thinking about diving out over the plate, and then he was a little guarded when he tried to go after the slider down the way.
I guess the question for a lot of the fans here in San Francisco, what is going to happen with Barry Bonds? Will somebody take a flyer on Bonds? I'll throw you a team right now that I'll at least make a case for it. Detroit. They need offense. Jim Leland, and it's a veteran clubhouse. Would they accept a guy like Barry Bonds? Hung it, and it's over Miles and into right center field for a base hit.
Jim Leland knows him better than anyone, and I think Barry truly respects Jim. There's the breaking ball that you talked about. Stays up a little bit and hit out in right center.
The amazing thing about Bonds is we see the breaking ball again. At the age of 43 last year, he still reached base 48% of the time.
Tremendous on-base percentage.
It's
He can still
unbelievable.
hit. They have 26 home runs.
26, and yet
they didn't pitch to it.
Right. They were second to last in runs and third from the bottom in on-base percentage. That with Bonds doing what he did for the Giants a year ago. There's only a couple of mentions of Bonds here at the ballpark. And one of them is a plaque to commemorate home run number 756 on right center field.
This is a medical issue right now. As Molina saw something, he went out there. Greg Hawk, the assistant trainer, went out there. You saw Tony talk to Dale Scott, the home plate umpire, and said, you know, we want this to be a medical, so they will not constitute a visit. Kyle McClellan starting to warm up. I think he's saying he's fine, but there was something that Molina noticed. Kind of stretch out the arm a little bit after he threw that one. Might have reached back a little bit more and try to get a little giddy up. Might have grabbed him right away, but he says he's okay.
1 ball and no strikes on Rich Aurelia, longtime shortstop with the Giants and a double play candidate here. Another pitch that's up.
Miles an hour. His fastball's been, four-seamer's been like 89 to 92.
How about you? I get the feeling that somebody at some point this year will take a flyer on Bonds. Say we'll take the baggage. We'll also take the bat. And probably more than anything, it'll be an American League team looking for a DH.
Yeah, but it appears his legal problems will not resurface until after the season.
Right, and that's why I say that.
Yeah.
Here comes a 2-0 pitch, another pitch that's up. And right now, Lowe's partner does not look comfortable.
Well, and I think Molina's also trying to tell him to hold his front shoulder in. You know, he's letting it fly open. That creates the ball to go up in the zone. And now they're saying, hurry up. Dave Duncan had just told Kyle McClellan and Marty Mason and the bullpen coach to get loose in a hurry.
Cardinals have a decision to make on Sunday. They will activate Joel Pinheiro from the DL, and somebody has got to go because that means that a starter moves to the bullpen and somebody from the bullpen gets shipped out.
Well, Brad Thompson, who's already for tonight's game, has been placed in as a reliever.
Left, and Barton makes a sliding catch for the first out.
Another nice play by the Rule 5 pickup.
Let's go pitch by pitch in this at bat to Rich Aurelia. As always, it's brought to you by Chevrolet.
There's that pitch there that kind of looked like he got underneath it. And then another one that he's not staying on top of. All 3 pitches are up in the zone, and that's going to be it after this. They just don't like the way another pitch that's up. And as much precaution as Kyle wants to stay in this ball game, but right now you don't want that pitching decision made because you lose a starter.
So that's going to be it for Kyle Loge. It's up to the bullpen tonight. Tony makes that decision. Exits with 1 out here in the 6th. Sunday, NASCAR on Fox moves to Phoenix, where last year pole sitter Jeff Gordon held off Tony Stewart and Denny Hamlin to take the checkered flag, as 8 of the top 10 cars were Chevrolet. The Subway Fresh Fit 500. I know you knew that. 8 of the top 10 cars were Chevrolet, Al, and will come your way in high definition this weekend on Fox. It's our call to the bullpen. Kyle McClellan is in, takes over for Kyle Loge, and he enters this ball game with 1 out and a runner on here in the bottom of the 6th for the Giants.
Many people speculate that the option pitcher would come from the 2 young right-handers, McClellan or Jimenez. I keep on saying it's not going to be Kyle McClellan because they keep on using him in very important roles.
And this is an important spot right here.
Exactly right.
He would love the double play. The 1-0 pitch and a swing and a miss. So Steve Holm, the catcher, who was hit by a pitch back in the 4th and also grounded out to 3rd. Something just did not look right there with Kyle Loge. A lot of pitches up.
Well, after the initial inquiry, he looked like he got underneath that, might have strained something a little bit, and then every pitch was up again, but I'll get it taken care of.
And time is called. Last time that the Giants went to the World Series was back in 2002. And since moving to San Francisco, they have yet to win a series championship.
Kind of hard to believe because they've had some very good and competitive teams.
That series was in 7 games against Anaheim. I'll never forget Game 5. Not Dusty Baker, but Darren Baker. His son, rescued by J.T. Snow at the plate. His son was either 3 or 4 at the time.
Oh, yeah, he was bat boy and
3 or 4
running
at the
out.
time, yeah.
Pick up the bat with a play going to be made at home plate. Could have been wiped out.
J.T. Snow, as we talked about last night, is in this organization. And a swing and a miss by Steve Holm, and that's out number 2, and it brings in Brian Bocock.
Here you've got a situation where Kyle, prior to this year, never pitched above Double-A. Holm, who he just struck out, and never played above Double-A. And now Bocock, the hitter, with 2 outs and runner at first, had never played above Single-A.
McClellan was ticketed for Memphis to be a starter. Line drive, that's a base hit.
Second hit of this game.
And that'll be it for Barry Zito. They will pinch hit for Zito. And off their bench, Clay Timpner hits from the left side.
Fights off the pitch. Hits a line drive over shortstop for his second hit. Another household name, right?
Clay Timpner.
He was recalled on Tuesday when Dave Roberts was put on the disabled list.
Pitch that scoots away from Molina. Yadier was out here early with Jason LaRue, Jeff Murphy, and once every series they'll be working on blocking balls in the dirt. They get here early about 1:30, 2 o'clock, and we'll see those guys working on what he just did, blocking balls in the dirt. Want to know the count. 1 ball, 1 strike. McClellan made his debut, and he was able to get through the heart of the lineup against Colorado. In doing so, I'm sure he gained some confidence from Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa.
Absolutely. Just, nothing really changed. The atmosphere is just bigger.
Good pitch. Tied him up. 1-2.
See this pitch and how he locks him up. Set up inside. Going over the top. He made his major league debut on Tuesday. Late inning replacement in left field, and he struck out in his lone appearance. 5th season in professional baseball.
And a swing and a miss, blocked again by Molina. He'll chase it down, and the Giants strand 2. We are through 6 here in San Francisco. Good work by the St. Louis. 4-2 Cardinals. Returning for the 7th season, it's the Hyundai Long Drive Inning. Entry blanks for your chance to win a 2008 Hyundai Sonata are at your St. Louis area Hyundai dealers right now. Keiichi Yabu is the new pitcher for San Francisco. Takes over for Barry Zito. Zito 6 innings, 98 pitches, 67 of those were strikes. And this is our call to the bullpen, brought to you by Chevrolet. Keiichi Yabu. You got it?
Yeah, he's
Just
39 years of age. From Japan. Non-roster invitee. '05 he did play for Oakland. '06 he was in Tijuana.
That's ripped, just foul. Tijuana, huh?
Yeah.
Schumacher, Barton, and Pujols for the Cardinals here in the 7th.
He was 4-0 with Oakland in '05 and 40 appearances. Had one save.
Pitch that's taken upstairs by Schumacher. 2 runs scored tonight for Skip. He is 2 for 3. On base, though, 3 times and 2 runs scored. He reached on an error back in the 5th, a costly error by San Francisco, as Pujols eventually would hit a 3-run homer. He has all 4 RBIs tonight for the Cardinals, and the Redbirds lead it 4-2. Big Cardinal fan tune in tonight. Dave Woods back home in St. Louis. Enjoying Cardinal baseball tonight. The 2-2 pitch. Slicing down the left field line and just foul.
Nabu spent 11 seasons with the Henshin ball club over in Japan. Did not play professionally in last season. '06 went to spring training with Colorado but didn't make the club. Aston was granted his release. Then he went to Tijuana. Boy, what a
2-2 is hit out of play.
somebody sold him a bill of goods, right?
It's an eye-opening experience, let me tell you. As you well know. What was the oddest area of the world that you went to go play baseball? Where was it? Because you used to always play winter ball, right?
Oh yeah, I had a good time in the Dominican, 4 different times there. 1 time in Venezuela, 2 times in Mexico.
Hit hard to third, knocked down by Castillo, long throw and safe. Schumacher is aboard.
Leadoff hitter's supposed to get on base, right?
4 times tonight for Skip.
Doubtful he will get a hit there, but he has 2 hits on the night, reached base on an error, and this one will be his 2nd error. E5 this time, and slices the ball, and Castillo off the line, knocks it down, scrambles, picks it up, but Schumacher, good speed, beats it out.
All right, play manager here, Al. You've got Pujols on deck. It's a situation where Barton certainly could bunt to put a runner in scoring position, but then you leave first base open. Would you rather have first base occupied even if Barton makes the out?
Well, we saw times, in previous years where Tony didn't mind, putting a man on second. If they wanted to walk Albert, so be it. Lucky stab right there by the catcher.
If you're the Giants, though, after what you've seen so far from the Cardinals, if the opportunity presents itself to walk Pujols with first base open, I think you do it. You
I think the Giants will do it.
Yeah, you deal with Gloss or Ludwig, whoever they want to throw up there.
I mean, Tony obviously always would love to have Albert have that opportunity, but I think he always wants to show the confidence in whoever's sitting behind him that they can get the job done too.
Good pick over there by Aurelia. 1 ball and no strikes on Brian Barton, who is 0 for 3, but he has gunned down a runner at the plate, also made a sliding catch out and left. And a check on Skip Schumacher after he reached on the air. Such a different looking team here in 2008. And Barton is a big reason why it's such a different looking team. Speed, Rule 5 player. Cardinals trying to generate some offense.
third Rule 5 player during Tony's reign.
The 1-1 pitch on the outside corner. That's strike 2. Twice Barton has flied to left, the other time to center. Cardinals picked up a run on an RBI double by Pujols back in the 3rd. And then the 3-run homer by Albert Pujols back in the 5th. Goes with the pitch out to deep right field and over the head of Randy Wynn, and Schumacher quickly on his way to 3rd. He had to wait to make sure that wouldn't be caught, and it's 1st and 3rd. Nobody out for Albert Pujols.
I'm also thought it was pretty smart of Barton to realize that Schumacher was kind of trapped in no man's land, and instead of running up his backside and passing, went away. Look at it, just flicks his wrist, tries to center the ball. It gets over Randy Wynn. He misplays it as the ball carried a lot further than what he anticipated. And Barton was halfway around second base as Schumacher was about 5 feet or 10 or 15 feet in front of him. And he pulled up, went back to first base instead of running into an out, passing the base runner ahead of him.
We started the night talking about the fact that Pujols has been coming up without a chance to drive in runners. Well, tonight it's been a different story. 4 RBIs this evening for Pujols. Check on Barton over at first. 1st and 3rd, nobody out for the Cardinal slugger. And Pujols tonight has flied to right, doubled the center, picked up the RBI, and then the 3-run home run off of Barry Zito back in the 5th. 4 RBIs tonight.
I think somebody might tell Barton, don't steal.
First pitch to Albert. Oh. Foul territory. Is there a play? There is. Steve Holm is there. Pujols frustrated. What a big out that is.
Well, somebody has to pick up Albert now.
The 2 guys behind Pujols tonight are Glaus and Ludwig. Troy Glaus is 1 for 3. Ludwig is 0 for 2 with a walk. And I was talking with Hal McRae the other day about trying to find protection behind Pujols. He says, I don't think you need 1, you need 2.
Yeah, that's the, you know, you'd love to have 1 solid one, and it'd be what a luxury to have 2. Tony said it, he'd rather have 4.
Tony wanted Bonds. 1st and 3rd with 1 out. At least the idea was talked about. Pull left side, diving stop by Castillo for 1. On to first, not in time, and a run scores. 5-2 Cardinals.
RBI for Troy Glaus. It's number 8.
And that's 3 runs scored for Skip Schumacher in the top spot in this lineup. Saturday, April 26th, the Cardinals will host Houston. First 12,500 men, the first 12,500 women. Ages 16 and up, they'll receive a Cardinals baseball cap, and it's courtesy of U.S. Cellular, the official wireless provider of the St. Louis Cardinals. Here's Ludwig, 0 for 2 with a walk. 5-2 Cardinals here in the Redbirds' half of the 7th inning. Good pitch on the outside corner for strike 1. Ludwig is popped out to the catcher, also grounded out to 3rd, and then walked back in the 5th. No activity in the Cardinal bullpen. No activity in either bullpen right now. McClellan will deal with the bottom of the 7th. Game like this is when you really miss the presence of a Russ Springer for the Cardinals in the bullpen.
Well, but you have the luxury of having an arm like McClellan to give you multiple innings.
Russ was so good a year ago. 2 strikes on Ludwig. The 1-2 pitch. Everything has been on the outside corner to Ludwig.
Pretty much thrown everything on that side of the plate.
Ryan getting the start tonight in right field for Tony La Russa. Play all 3 outfield spots. That's a base hit out to left. Over to cut it off, it's Fred Lewis, and it's runners at first and second now with 2 outs. Ludwig on base for the second time.
Caught a little bit more of the plate and up, and Ludwig turned on it.
The ball, you'll see it. It just jumps off his bat more times than not. And now it's Molina, who is 1 for 3. He's flied to right, grounded out to third, and singled his first time up. His brother is on the bench tonight, Benji Molina. And he was part of that Angels team that actually defeated the Giants in the 0-2 World Series. Had a key RBI in that game 7 clincher for Anaheim.
Yeah, Scott, home plate umpire, wanted to call it, but resisted.
Nice crowd on hand tonight here at AT&T Park here in San Francisco. Weather is ideal. One ball, 1 strike.
Someone visiting San Francisco for the first time in mid-April. Next time they come back in April, they're going to be fooled. Because this is unusually warm.
You come in the fall and it's beautiful day and night, and then in the spring though it gets cold at night. Shallow right field. Randy Wynn is there, but the Cardinals pick up a run, extend the lead to 3 runs. McClellan back to work when we come back. This is Joe McGrain in our Geico quote. The wind, the fog rolling in. If that's not excitement enough, they ought to just plant landmines arbitrarily in the outfield. That's Joe McGrain playing at Candlestick. Joe is now the color commentator for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
Dan, I never mind pitching there.
I would figure on these cool nights, you feel like you can stay in longer.
That's it. I mean, you go out there and you're invigorated by the cool nighttime air. It's cold. Hitters don't like to hit in cold weather. You're the warmest guy on the field because you're the most active.
Top of the lineup for the Giants here in their half of the 7th. Lewis, Davis, and Wynn. And Fred Lewis with a couple of doubles tonight. Kyle McClellan now working in his 2nd inning as he took over for Kyle Loge. It's now 5 1/3 tonight for Kyle Loge. So 17 1/3 to start with the Cardinals here in 08. And only a couple runs allowed. That's it, just 2. Who would have thought that after basically no spring training for Kyle Loge?
Yeah, signed on March 14th.
This tourist backs up. Nice play. But he kept himself competitive. He was throwing a lot of BP and facing live hitters. Tim Flannery, third base coach, did you know, performed as guitarist with Jimmy Buffett, Willie Nelson, Bruce Hornsby, among others. Tim Flannery, third base coach of the Giants.
Got a couple albums out.
I did know he was a musician. I just didn't know who he had performed with.
So San Diego is always out surfing.
The 2-0. Strike. I'm with you, Al. I'm having a hard time understanding the strike zone tonight. Cardinals lead at 5-2.
Like right there.
Yeah. That was a little bit lower than the previous pitch, but at times it's been called a strike tonight. Davis tonight is 0 for 3. Twice he has grounded out to short. He's flied out. And that's a 1-out walk. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Molina out to calm down Kyle McClellan as we play with 1 out and a runner at first here in the bottom of the 7th.
That's one thing you can't afford to do. You can't walk anybody. You can't put them on base. And really miss location there. So, you know, Kyle, I've been very impressed with just his maturity and the way he understands it, can handle things. Gave up the home run in Houston to Tejada and lose the ball game, and didn't phase him a bit.
1 out, runner at first. Here's Randy Wynn. No activity in the Cardinal bullpen. No activity on either side. Wynn tonight singled and scored back in the 4th. He's grounded back to the pitcher and struck out his first time up. 1 for 3.
In the early going, the Giants have been one of the better base running teams, base stealing teams.
And I think we would anticipate that with the kind of lineup that they throw out there every night.
Yeah, they're going to have to manufacture runs. They're going to have to do different things. Davis has 2 steals on the young season and 2 attempts.
Down by 3 runs, though, and you have one of the game's best behind home plate.
Well, that's it. I mean, you have to steal it off the pitcher. If you give Molina any chance, you know, he's going to nail that man. But we saw a couple times in Houston where Cardinal pitchers did not give Molina a chance, and he didn't even attempt to throw.
There he goes. Molina, the throw down to second. He got him. Right on the bat. No, he's safe because he dropped it.
A perfect throw. It didn't look like it hopped or skipped on his tourist, but he dropped it. Got a breaking ball and a gun from Molina, and that ball's got to be caught. Got him on the heel of the glove, and it pops out.
A swing and a miss that time by Wynn. A ball and 2 strikes. Cardinals get a righty up in the bullpen.
Franklin. Izzy, Franklin, and McClellan were all not available last night.
1-2 is hit on a hop to second. Taken there by Miles for out number 2.
Runner advances to third, but you get the hitter and he can't score.
Brings in Ray Durham. McClellan got the final 2 outs in the 6th. Couple of strikeouts along the way. And now trying to make it a scoreless 7th. Durham is 1 for 2 on the night with a run scored. Breaking ball and a strike.
Kyle, last couple of years at times has been a workout partner with Albert Pujols, and that'll kind of knowing you got Albert in your corner will kind of help you adjust to your new teammates.
Albert truly is the leader of this team.
Sure, but early and in spring training, Dave Duncan recognized Kyle McClellan first big league camp and said, this guy can pitch.
In the air, down the left field line. It's slicing out of play. And you wonder, too, if Pujols goes to Tony or Dave Duncan and says, hey, keep an eye on this guy. Been working out with him. Throws hard. He's got good stuff.
Or at the very least, he kind of can go to Kyle and say, do this, do that. You got things going. Just relax. Keep on doing things. For his first major league appearance, Albert maybe went over there and said a few words of encouragement and probably just said, hey, just relax and have fun.
pulled foul. With a breaking ball that time by Cal McClellan. I want to thank Albert for the sit-down interview that he gave us, and we aired a portion of that prior to our ball game tonight. He's talking about this lineup. He likes it.
In many ways, Albert's so much more relaxed this year.
He had a terrific spring, and it's carried over to a good start. On that pitch, right field, but the catch is made by Ludwig on the run. We have played 7 here at AT&T Park in San Francisco. McClellan, an inning and 2/3. And the Cardinals have a lead here in game number 2. Let's take a look at our game summary put together by Brian McCann and our Bud Sports crew. Brought to you by Jack in the Box. The 2002 Cy Young Award winner Barry Zito against Kyle Loge. Loge would last 5 1/3 for the Cardinals. And the offense tonight is all Albert Pujols. 4 RBIs of the 5 for the Cardinals. The other from the Redbird third baseman Troy Gloss. And this is Aaron Miles. Gets a piece. 1 ball, 1 strike. Miles on the night is 0 for 3.
The on-deck circle is Rick Ankiel. Lyle McClellan does his job, being the final out of the 6th, and
sets up then for Franklin in the 8th, and then Isringhausen for the 9th.
it's the final 2 outs of the 6th. Pitches the 7th. Gets another hold.
I was glad to see Miles resign.
I was too. I was very disappointed when he was, not tendered a contract initially.
3-1 the count. And later tonight on the postgame show, if you're still up, we have a Hungo Award coming up later. Left center field, and the catch made by Davis. The guy that occupies first base for the Cardinals, I would figure, would be a candidate.
Oh, he's a candidate.
Now, where was that taken? Do you know?
I was a little upset because they told me I couldn't go fishing.
Is that right by McCovey Cove? Looks like it would be.
I think so.
Ankiel hits one high and foul and out of play. Loge, McClellan. We'll see Franklin in the bottom of this inning, and now Rick Ankiel is a pinch hitter. Schumacher got the start in center. For whatever reason, Rick Ankiel, and I guess it's just a comfort level that he has, but he is so good at home. 31 games in his career at home at Busch Stadium. 39 RBIs and hitting .325 back home in St. Louis.
And on the Cardinals' first road trip to this point, hitting under 200 on the road.
Right.
And not much above that in his career on the road, but a terrific hitter at home.
1-2 pitch is pulled to second. Two outs, and it brings in Isturis. Cardinals picked up the first run of this game in the top of the 3rd. 3 more in the 5th, and then another run last inning in the 7th. Two outs and nobody on. We showed the shots of Steve Perry, who works in the clubhouse, visiting clubhouse in Houston, and he collects bobbleheads. And apparently, Al, he does not have the Hungo. Are you going to be kind enough to bring him one?
I have already told him that.
So it's a done deal.
It's a done deal. He offered $5,000 for it, so I said, sure.
And that's on the low end.
That's the going rate now.
Really? The 2-1 pitch. 3-1.
Stock market's down. Housing is down, so you know it's collectibles now. That's the new investment area.
Bobbleheads.
No, I just said, you know, antiques.
Okay.
Collectibles. I'm an antique.
2-out walk. Inning and 2/3 by Kyle McClellan. And again, Al making a case to stick around. No doubt.
He's stuck. He's not going anywhere right now.
Here's Schumacher. He has been on base 4 times tonight.
And scored 3 runs.
Twice he has reached on an error and a couple of singles his first 2 times up.
I think Yabu gets a little paranoid when the runner gets on first base. Steps off, throws over. He is terrified that runner may move.
Keiichi Yabu. 2 outs. Isturis is the runner at first. Schumacher in center field tonight. It's good to see him starting to relax and produce at the plate. He's already thrown out now 2 runners at home plate, 1 from left field and the other from center. And 1 from center was tonight. When you put Ankiel and Schumacher in the outfield, those are 2+ arms. Big time.
Ludwig can cover some ground. He can close and gets good jumps on the ball. All 3 of them can play center field. Give me idea what I meant about throwing the first. Now you got 2 outs. That runner can't go anyplace if you get the hitter.
Schumacher out to left center field. That's another base hit. Skip Schumacher. Misplay out and left on his way to second base, and he is in there safely. Little misplay by Lewis, and that will be the 3rd error charged to the Giants tonight, and that's 3 times involving Schumacher tonight, and he is on base for the 5th time. So a single and then E7 on this play.
Out there, as you see, where it hits him in the heel of the glove, and Schumacher very aggressively, but Isturis likewise. Going from first to third, and then Schumacher even more impressive getting into second base. So on base 5 times. He's already scored 3 runs. Maybe Barton can drive him in, get his first major league RBI.
Got a base hit last time up. 1 for 4 on the night. Eric Threets, a left-hander, is getting loose in the pen for San Francisco. Franklin has just been standing on the mound. The bullpen for the Cardinals. Barton, center field, and his first RBIs. That will play 2. On his way to second base. Ball scoots away, and he's in there. Brian Barton extends this lead to 7-2 Cardinals.
He did get 1 RBI, but he got 2 RBIs. And another multi-hit game for Brian Barton, and the Cardinals with a commanding lead here of 7-2. How greedy will they get? Pitch up. So both his base hits tonight were off of Yabu, this pitcher. And he would have been dead out at second base. So throws the ball in. They can't corral the relay throw. Eats up Durham, and that allowed Barton to get into second base.
Giants a sloppy game defensively with 3 errors. And now it's Pujols.
Yeah, they did not put an error on that yet.
Five-run lead for the Cardinals. Pujols with 4 RBIs. This is a tight ball game, and first base is open. They would walk him, but
No, it's right now, if you could get Kelvin Jimenez warm quick enough and save Franklin, that could be a real plus.
And save Izzy, too. No need to get him up either. Could have Jimenez pitch the final 2 innings.
Right. But it doesn't seem like he's in any great hurry to get ready. Right?
This is where if you're a young pitcher, you're thinking, all right, I just slipped 2 pitches by Pujols. Maybe I can get that 3rd one by him, too.
Oh, that's... Some hitters actually do trick pitchers into thinking that way.
The 0-2. Tied him up and struck him out. Pujols strikes out. Cardinal, some insurance with 2 RBIs. Big 12 baseball returns to FSN, and tune in Saturday as the Kansas Jayhawks host the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Big 12 action. Live coverage begins at noon here on FSN Midwest. Crowd of 33,954 tonight. Al, you were exactly right. I mean, Jimenez just, there really wasn't a sense of urgency to get up and get going down in the bullpen. So now the Cardinals, because Franklin was getting loose and was loose, now he is in this game here in the 8th.
And Jimenez is not warming up. So apparently Franklin will have the 8th inning. You got a day game tomorrow. You got a 5-run lead. Seems like it'd be a nice time to give them a little breather.
Here's Castillo, and the first pitch is taken for a ball.
That's one way to look at it, is you do have the off day Monday, and with good weather over the weekend, you know, assuming they think that he and Izzy could go all 3 days if necessary.
Franklin, a hold, his 5th on Wednesday night at Houston, pitched an inning and a 3rd.
And he looked like the Franklin of a year ago when he was so good.
And I was about to say, you know, that was an outing that the Cardinals needed to see, because Franklin had not been sharp prior to that. Had kind of a rough spring, and admittedly he said, I was just fighting my mechanics, didn't feel comfortable, but hopefully, you know, now we're starting to see what we saw for probably 5 out of 6 months a year ago. Rich Aurelia with 1 out and nobody on.
Over 1,100 hits in his Giant career.
A fan favorite here in the Bay Area, Rich Aurelia.
9th on the all-time San Francisco hit list.
2-0 pitch from Franklin to Aurelia. Taken for a strike.
Like the pace that Franklin works at translates to the hitter, that I'm very confident. I feel like I'm in control and I'm going to attack you.
The 2-1. Dropped up behind home plate, right by us. Dropped the ball and may have hurt his left hand. Ouch.
A lot of Cardinal fans out.
What a great weekend trip. You can make it. Three and 2 the count.
You know, all the time people ask us, you know, about visiting parks. This is one place I always recommend people come.
Yeah. It's not just the park, it's the city.
Yeah.
It's Napa. Not too far away.
Yes, Dan. We've never been there.
We enjoy Napa.
There are authorities on the different trails.
You betcha. Now your daughter is living in this area, isn't she?
She's in San Jose now, Lisa.
Couldn't convince her to move to St. Louis?
No, it's too cold.
Off the end of the bat and foul. Steve Holm
went to college in San Diego and stayed out there for 17 years, and then last year took a job in Silicon Valley.
Well, you spend time in San Diego, you spend 4 or 5 years. There might not be a better place in the world, weather-wise. Barton over to cut it off. He can. Off the tip of his glove. Went to the wall, and it's a 2-out double for Steve Holm. Second time that he has been aboard.
Holm plugs the gap out here. You see where Schumacher relatively short, shallow, and that ball kind of scooted by Barton. Hit a little harder than what he assumed, and
didn't take a great track to that. Two outs. Bocock looks at a strike on the outside corner. 7-2 St. Louis, a 5-run lead here in the bottom of the 8th here in San Francisco.
Bocock was 1 for 12 on this homestand. He started all 10 games for the Giants.
That's strike 2. Velez, who they absolutely love, is on deck. The Birds are starting to fly around AT&T Park. They know the game is coming to a close. And when the Birds are around, that means it's dinner time.
Well, they kind of got a good alarm clock, don't they?
They sure do.
Now it's in the late innings when the Seagulls start diving.
One ball and 2 strikes.
It's illegal in Toronto to harm a seagull. Dave Winfield found that out.
How about Randy Johnson, spring training a few years ago?
That was, Winfield was trying to hit a bird, but Randy Johnson was just throwing a pitch to a batter during the game, and a bird just happened to fly in that path, and it was the last thing that bird ever did.
Yes, it was. Explosion of feathers near home plate.
Randy Flores is now going to start warming up.
They've got Lewis and Davis, potential pinch hitter coming up. 2-2 pitch, fought off and foul. The only off day of the month of April for the Cardinals is coming up on Monday, and Tony La Russa will have his annual golf tournament here in the Bay Area. There's Tony last year passed Red Shandy's, and he is first the Cardinals' all-time wins list. The 2-2 pitch on its way. See, even when Franklin was getting the ball back from Molina, a little frustrated in him, in himself right now.
They're trying to finish this inning off with his 19th pitch.
The 3-2. In the air to right. The catch made by Ludwig. We head to the ninth. Scoreless 8 for Ryan Franklin. Cardinals lead it at 7-2.
Back at AT&T Park. Don't forget, coming up after the game on the post-game edition of U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live, Tony La Russa on tonight's game. We'll have player reaction as well. And tonight they'll give out the hungo that's after the game. For now, we send it back to Dan and Al.
All right, Jim, thanks. I've got to ask you, though, how has Tony been on these post-game shows with you? Has he been cordial? Has he been nice? Has he been waiting to hear from you? What's been the deal?
Dan, he's been cordial and nice after the Cardinals win, and they've been winning a lot. Last night, they didn't win. He wasn't as nice. He hates to lose, bottom line.
What kind of questions were you asking him?
I was asking him legitimate questions, Dan, journalistic type questions.
That's what I like to hear. Jim
Baseball
Hayes.
related?
Baseball related.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jim. We appreciate it. Jim Hayes will take in the Cardinal clubhouse coming up after the game, and that's U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live. And this is Troy Gloss. 7-2 Cardinals. Gloss with another RBI tonight. And good morning to St. Louis in about 5 minutes or so, according to our scoreboard clock here at AT&T Park. Foul territory, catch made.
It's a little slow, the scoreboard clock.
Is it? Get the phone out, Al.
Got 3 minutes by my phone.
3 minutes.
About straight up on my watch.
Well, then your watch is
A little fast.
And the scoreboard clock is?
Is about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
2 minutes on my clock.
Okay, good.
On my phone. It's a Theets, young left-hander, 26 years of age, made his major league debut last season. Hard thrower, but sometimes not sure where it goes.
Ludwig tonight is popped out to the catcher, grounded out to third. He has walked and also singled. Two-0 pitch. Deep left field, and this one is out of here. Ludwig goes deep. His first in 08, and the second of the night for the Cardinals. 8-2 St. Louis.
Ludwig that end. Super season coming up. Part of the year, he had a career high 14 home runs last year, including 3 pinch hit home runs. Started this ball game, but he jumps on this fastball. See how it's down and in, and he just drops a bat head and follows through, and no doubter.
Well, it's almost like what you see from lefties, down and in. They love it there, and that's where Ludwig likes it from the other side of the plate.
Yeah, a lot of times, you know, right-handed hitters are a little more high ball, but he's one of the low ball hitters from the left side, or from the right side.
1-0 pitch to Molina. The out of here tonight is 1 for 4. Ludwig, his first of 2008.
Looks like Jimenez will pitch the 9th inning.
Grounder hit too short. This will be out number 2. Ryan Ludwig with 6 RBIs this far in the first couple of weeks too.
And Troy Gloss has 8 RBIs. Albert with 4 tonight has 8.
Here's the second baseman, Miles. Well, you're right. This guy throws hard, but I'm not sure he can locate it.
Seeing 96 on the gun.
Jason LaRue has moved to the on-deck circle. Miles, little floater into right, and that's a base hit. The Cardinals with 13 hits tonight. There's such a big lead now. You don't have to use Isringhausen. And you would figure that he would be available tomorrow and possibly Sunday as well with the off day on Monday.
He's going to pitch at least one time in this.
Regardless.
Yeah, regardless with the off day. But he'll be ready for both games.
LaRue is trying to pick up his first base hit as a Cardinal. Fu Manchu here, Al, and
it's scaring me.
You are the king of Fu Manchus. Have you talked to him about his facial hair?
Yes, I have, but I did it from a distance because I was intimidated. The hair, Fu Manchu. I've always liked Jason, so I've gotten along with him well, and it's going to be fun having him around.
3-1. Did you have to give him advice on his Fu Manchu and how to groom it?
Got to get a little thicker.
Three and two. Yours was definitely thicker than Jason LaRue's. I myself cannot grow one, so I don't worry about it. But you, I mean, when Dustin Hermanson was in St. Louis, you were like a kid Christmas morning.
His facial art?
Yes. Who would buy him and strikes him out. Ludwig, the solo home run. 8-2 Cardinals here in game 2 of this 4-game series here in San Francisco. We're back with more on FSN Midwest in just a moment. Cardinals baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser, who thanks you for being a designated driver. And by Chevrolet. See for yourself. Shop and compare at stlchevy.com. Just a beautiful night here in San Francisco. Glad you're with us. All Cardinals tonight. It is 8-2. Jimenez into the ball game. That one will scoot under his glove. Tough play, but Miles comes up with it for the first out.
Very fine play by Aaron Miles. Made it difficult. The speed of Velez gets underneath the glove here. Miles has to circle it to get to the ball and get something behind the throw and do it as quick as possible. There's Kelvin. Jimenez, second game, and good to get him in for another one. Got a live arm. And gain more experience, the more valuable he will be to his team.
Fred Lewis will dig in. He's had a nice night.
Well, he's had 3 doubles and a triple in the first 2 games of this series.
Jimenez, we presume, would be the likely choice to be sent out on Sunday, but we don't know for sure.
And you never do that until the last minute because you never know if somebody's going to get hurt or what happens about it. But you know, every time you come up here, and remember he came up when Russ Springer went on the disabled list. Well, really was the last cut from spring training, but he'll leave an impression.
Really took something off that pitch, almost guided it in there, but Pujols will take it for out number 2. Our Budweiser, great player of the game. And we turn to the Cardinals' first baseman for our Budweiser. Great player of the game, and why not, partner? Going deep, Pujols.
Deep, 3-run home run. Also had a double in this game and an RBI, so 4 RBIs, his 3rd home run of the season. Another game winner, it appears.
Strike 2 on Davis. And that's the ball game. Jimenez strikes him out. And quickly a 1-2-3 ninth for Kelvin Jimenez. Impressive win for the Cardinals. Pungo Ward waiting. Who does it go to tonight? Post-game show coming up. We'll tell you all about it here on FSM Midwest.
Turn left. Turn right. Turn left. You want a navigation system?
That'd be great.
The special value packages are here. Get voice-activated GPS at no extra charge, plus side curtain airbags and power seats, windows, mirrors, and more. Get over $3,500 in total value on 300 Signature Series, plus our lifetime powertrain warranty. Chrysler, engineered beautifully.
It's not gonna last.
What?
Trust me, it'll be over like that.
How dare you?
Sorry, but it's not gonna last.
What?
For a limited time, get Jack's Classic Ultimate Cheeseburger for just $1.99. Come in soon because it definitely will not last.
It's not over! It's gonna last
It's over when I say it's over! Oh.
Steve Odell is a real Geico customer, not a paid celebrity. So to help tell his story, we hired a celebrity.
Recently, my father was carjacked at knife point.
Oh, honey, that's all right. This face has seen more knives than a Benihana.
Geico handled the whole thing with unbelievable sensitivity.
Sensitivity? I can't feel my face.
I was so impressed I switched to Geico and saved over $600.
I was very happy.
Geico. Real service, real savings.
Am I smiling? I can't tell, Steve. I can't.
I just can't seem to get it right today. Just can't seem to get it right today. Just can't seem to get it right today. I guess I'm gonna give up. Oh, I guess I'm gonna give up.
The fuel-efficient Kia Spectra. With fewer fill-ups, you may just forget which side it's on, starting around 13.5.
The game is over with a Cardinals impressive win, but don't go to bed just yet. There's still plenty more coverage to come on U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live. Coming up, game 204 in the books. Did Kyle Loesch maintain his status as the steal of the offseason? And speaking of stealing, Schumacher Barton will break down the Cardinals' leadoff spot. Plus, we'll go all access inside the Cardinals clubhouse and bring you Tony La Russa's post-game comments. That's all coming up in just 90 seconds on U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live after the 9-2 victory in San Francisco.
Welcome to U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live.
Hello, everybody. Welcome once again inside our FSM Midwest studio in St. Louis for the post-game edition of U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live. Coming up, we're going to go all access inside the Cardinals visiting clubhouse in San Francisco with Jim Hayes. We'll bring you Tony La Russa's post-game thoughts as well. Plus, former Redbird Scott Cooper will be alongside to break down tonight's 8-2 victory over the Giants. And Cardinal fans, remember, you too can participate in U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live. If you have a question for Scott Cooper or myself, then it's U.S. Cellular text time. Send us a text at 37289. Remember to include your first name, where you're texting from, so we can include that, and standard text messaging rates do apply. Let's head right back to San Francisco now. Jim Hayes standing by with Skip Schumacher, our Mid-America Chevrolet dealers player of the game, on base 5 times. Jim?
Skip Schumacher scores 4 runs tonight, on base 5 times, 3 hits as well, throws out a runner at home plate. Skip, you had that slow start, but on this road trip, you're 9 for 19. You got that first hit, and it seemed to relax you. Is that what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. Eased my mind a little bit, and that's what I needed to get myself going. And, you know, all along I've been trying to get on base for the big guys, and, you know, it's a good system. When I get on, I usually score with the big guys behind me, and I got to get on more, and it happened tonight.
Big defensive play in the 4th. You gun a guy at the plate. Did you know they were going to try to score 2 there?
I had an idea. You know, the pitcher was coming up, and I knew they were going to probably be aggressive. And, you know, we always are taught to come up throwing, and, you know, Albert will cut it off if he doesn't go. So I tried to hit him, and he went through, and it ended up being a good play.
Last night was a rough one for you guys. How big to bounce back tonight?
Well, it's huge. I mean, we got, you know, 2 more tough pitchers coming up in Kane and Lincecum, and, to get Zito, who's obviously a very good pitcher, it's a good win for us.
Thanks for the time, Skip.
All right, thank you.
Skip Schumacher, we go back to you.
Jim, thank you. It's time to head back now to San Francisco and a view from the booth as we head upstairs. Dan and Al just called the game for you. An impressive victory all the way around from the offense, really exploding guys, and some good pitching, and defense was outstanding.
Yeah, the defense, Pat, really stands out in this game. When you look at Albert Pujols, we always expect the offense from him. He picks up the home run, Ludwig a home run, but how about the defense tonight behind Kyle Loge?
Yeah, and Loge needed it. You know, he wasn't as sharp as we've seen him in his first 2 starts, but how about in the inning here where we get Schumacher picks up his 2nd assist, his 3rd of his career, nails a man at the plate, the 2nd time he's done that this year, and then Barton, who comes up and throws a gem at the plate, and Yachty seals off a run.
And the final play is this one here from Cesar Izturis. Also, Barton had a sliding catch later in the game, so certainly the defense stands out. Kyle Loge, I'll be interested to hear what happened with Loge when he had kind of a rough inning, then he went back out, didn't look comfortable on the mound, just to see how he is physically after the start tonight.
Yeah, they went out to check his arm at one time. He said he was fine, but that was the last batter he faced, and I think it was more precautionary, and hopefully that's all it is. But you know, he picks up the victory. The good work by the bullpen, and the Cardinals pick up 5 unearned runs with the Giants defense.
Yeah, easily could have been 4 errors on the Giants. And as Skip Schumacher was telling Jim, a real important win. When you talk about Barry Zito going tonight, a guy that's struggling now 0-3, and you look at Loge, he's 2-0, but they're going to face a couple of very good pitchers now in games 3 and 4.
The real strength of this Giants ball club is their starting rotation. So, you know, we got 2 more, and Kane and Lincecum over the weekend. But I think this is a confidence booster. See the club come out and swing the bat after they had sort of a rough outing yesterday. Nothing you really put your finger on. Those things are going to happen when you play 162 games. But it's can you bounce back, and they did tonight.
All right, Pat, later tonight, it's the Hungo Award on this Friday night here on FSN Midwest. Let's send it back to you.
Can't wait. Looking forward to it, guys. Thanks very much. Let's take a look at some of those highlights they were just talking about. Top of the 3rd, 2 outs, runner on first, and Albert Pujols at the plate. And he smokes this one just past Rajai Davis, RBI double for Pujols. Skip Schumacher comes home 1-0. Bottom of the 4th now tied at 1, 1st and 3rd. I should say bases loaded, and Brian Babcock there. It's actually going to be a play at the plate, and Skip Schumacher guns down Rich Aurelia. 2-1 Giants. Next guy up, Barry Zito. He singles to left.
Will come up firing to the plate. Yes, he got him.
Brian Barton guns him out as well. So 2 plays at the plate, and it limits the damage for Kyle Loge. Top of the 5th, 2 outs, runners on first and second. Albert Pujols was waiting for that pitch. First pitch goes deep and gone. 3-run shot, homer number 3 for Pujols, 4-2 at that point. Top of the 8th, 2 outs, runners on second and third, and Brian Barton delivers a double that is going to score a couple of runs, and it's 7-2. Barton's first and second career RBIs in the majors, but not to be done in the top of the 9th. Ryan Ludwig steps up and adds a solo shot. This one gets over the wall and into the stands in left. It's Ludwig's first homer of the season, 8-2, and that would be the final. 8 runs on 13 hits for the Redbirds, and those 13 hits are a season high to date as they improve now to 8-3. Kyle Loge gets the win. He's now 2-0, although his scoreless inning streak comes to an end at 15 1/3, and they take care of Barry Zito, who falls to 0-3. Scott Cooper joins us now, and you know, we've been waiting for this offense to kind of get on track, and yeah, they were helped out a little bit by the Giants defense, but when you put together 13 hits, you score 8 runs, you got to be feeling a lot better about the offense tonight.
Absolutely. It was very, very nice to watch. You know, pitching, defense, good base running, and hitting with power. It was very, very good and very refreshing to see. Good win for the Cardinals, very big win.
Yeah, and I think you can't underscore that enough. Dan and I were talking about it. We heard Skip Schumacher talk about it. Albert Pujols providing the power tonight, and it seemed like Albert came up to the plate a couple of times with a real desire and really an understanding of what Barry Zito was trying to do, and he took advantage of that.
Absolutely. You know, I heard Albert say that the young guys, you know, are teaching him what he's doing. You know, every now and again he needs help at the plate, but you know, to do what he did tonight, it really shows. This pitch middle out, he hits a fastball to right center field, but to be the veteran that he is, this next particular pitch, He sits soft. To be the veteran, to be able to sit soft on a particular, okay, this is still the one to the right center. That's a fastball away, so Zito thinks, you know, I might be able to sneak one in there. There's no possible way you can do that with Pujols. He's too quick. Line drive over the right center, over the center fielder's head. And then in the 5th inning, he's just sitting on a changeup. That's all he's doing there. And to have enough gall to be able to do that as a veteran, that is something very, very special. There's another replay. I mean, he keeps his hands back, just absolutely does a perfect job here. And he's the real leader on this team. He can talk about the young guys, you know, helping him out, but he's the leader. I mean, that's just a picture-perfect swing, sitting soft. Really takes a veteran to do that.
Well, and the worst thing that can happen there is he guesses wrong and watches the fastball go right by. Because he's not going to swing at a fastball. He's just waiting on it. And we have to commend Barry Zito for one thing. He had this lineup handcuffed for several innings because he's figured something out. He's not going to throw very hard. Throws about 85 at most. But he's decided to kind of back off those softer pitches, as you talk about, the changeup and the curveball. And he gets that 10 or 12 mile an hour difference. It's just a lot slower than everybody's used to.
Well, I think he's starting to figure out, hey, I don't throw 90, 92 anymore. I've got to figure out, you know, the change of speeds from 86 to 87. If you can put late movement on an 86 to 87 mile an hour fastball and change speeds with your changeup and your curveball, you're going to get some people out. So he did that early on, but he started to wear out there a little bit.
Yeah, and Albert figured him out, and I think that was the key, is kind of got the pitch count up and certainly did some damage before they get to their bullpen and do even more. When we come back on U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live, we're going to talk about Skip Schumacher and continue to discuss his big night.